Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto fall in love with Sasuke twin sister. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. Looking for someone? Naruto asked. The girl turned. Her charcoal black eyes, as dark as her hair, stared blankly into his. Are you looking for someone in there? He asked again, pointing at the compound where the Uchiha once lived. Well, she bit her lip, eyes shifting away. Well? Naruto asked, giving her a sympathetic grin. His sapphire blue eyes gleaming beautifully under the sunlight. She fidgeted with the sleeves of her blue sweater, her eyes now staring intently at her dusty, close-toed shoes. Naruto squinted down at her, trying to place her since her face appeared familiar to him, and yet, the snowflake engraved on her headband was a clear sign that they'd never met before. She began, bringing Naruto out of his thoughts. Is there anyone living there? She pointed towards the Uchiha compound with her black-gloved hand. What, haven't you heard what happened to the Uchiha clan? He could see a flash of pain on her face before she quickly looked away again. I guess I have, but… Oh, I get it. He snapped his fingers at the sudden realization. You're looking for Sasuke, aren't you? Sasu? She appeared to choke on her own words as her eyes widened in surprise. Uchiha Sasuke? Well, duh. He shrugged. Do you have any business with him? Is he here? Her voice rose to a high pitch. If not, do you know where to find him? Hey, today's your lucky day. Naruto grinned. He's on my team. Right now, they're waiting for me just 2 blocks ahead. If you want to see him, I can take you there. You would? She beamed back at him. Thank you. By the way, my name is Uzumaki Naruto. He introduced himself as they made their way. You should learn it because, someday, I will become Hokage. Nice to meet you, Naruto-san. She said, my name's Sadako. Sadako? I like your name, but there is no need to be so formal. I'm sorry. Is Naruto-kun better for you? Yeah, that's better. Over here. They had reached the place where the rest of Team 7 waited. Sasuke was standing just 10 meters away with his back turned at them. Oi, Sasuke no baka, Naruto yelled. There's a girl who wants to see you. Sakura turned around immediately to look at Sadako. But Sasuke turned slowly, cursing Naruto on his way. What the fu? His words stopped as soon as he saw the girl next to Naruto. He tilted his head and squinted at her as if unsure of what he was seeing. Then, his eyes widened and a single word escaped his lips. Sadako? The dark-haired girl nodded slightly and the ghost of a smile appeared on Sasuke's lips before he dashed forward. Sasuke-kun! Sakura cried out. She made a grab for his hand, but Sasuke was already out of her reach. Air was the only thing she caught between her fingers. Sasuke's left hand wrapped around Sadako's shoulders while the other one pressed her head against his chest. Unable to form a coherent sentence, all he could do was lay his chin atop her head and mumble something the rest couldn't hear while she clung to the front of his shirt. Sakura observed the scene in shock. It wasn't like Sasuke to behave that way. It wasn't like Sasuke to just dash toward a random girl, and it just wasn't like to feel. Period. Red-faced from anger, she stomped her way to whatever the hell her name was and pulled her away from Sasuke, then turned her around so that they were facing each other. What do you think you're doing? She screeched. Sasuke-kun is mine. She had barely finished that sentence when she felt Sasuke's hands clamping around her wrists and forcing her away from the newcomer. Don't you ever do that again. Growled. You're hurting me, she gasped. Sasuke's grip on her wrists tightened even more. Don't you ever touch my sister again. Kakashi's only visible eye widened in shock. Sakura uttered a soft cry and Naruto fell wide-eyed on the ground. It was just then that Naruto realized, he had never asked Sadako's last name. Please Sadako-chan, stop crying. 3-year-old Sasuke begged. If father hears you, he'll get angry again. Every time Sadako cried, father hated her even more, but it wasn't her fault to be in so much pain. She was a shame to the family. The rejects of the Uchiha clan. But it wasn't like that when they were born. Sasuke's eyes had been the usual charcoal black, but Sadako's eyes were a little bit different. Blazing eyes, red as blood. She was born with Sharingan, the eye technique that only those in the Uchiha family could use. She was the Uchiha's pride. Itachi once told him. Yes, they used to love her back then. But something must have gone wrong. Sadako couldn't control the Sharingan. She could not stop it from working. It took the strength from her, made her weary. wore her eyes down until they bled. So she sat on her room every day, with her bleeding eyes heavily bandaged and her pale little face no longer smiling. Sasuke would go into her room every day. It hurt him to see his beloved sister so sad, so he made it his special mission to bring a smile to her face. "Sadako-chan," he would say, holding 5 fingers before her face. "How many fingers am I holding up?" 3. She would guess. "No fair, you cheated." "I did not. Let's play again." "How many fingers?" 10 fingers up. 2. "You're peeking." "I'm not." Sadako would then start to laugh, so it didn't matter that Sasuke had lost on purpose. Seeing her happy was all that mattered. Sometimes she had enough strength to walk out of her room and into the garden. And sometimes in rainy days, she would sing next to him in her choppy, 3-year-old voice. How he loved her voice. The voice that only he was allowed to hear because she would talk to no one else, not even Itachi. But Sadako wasn't singing today. She was crying, and in so much pain. "It hurts so much," she muttered to Sasuke. Drops of blood began to drip on the floor as Sadako winced in pain. "Let me see." Sasuke took Sadako's hands away from her face. The sight was horrible to him. The bandage covering her sick eyes was soaked in blood. The red liquid ran down her cheeks, mixing with Sadako's tears of pain. "Stay here," he commanded and dashed out of the room. He kept on running down the hall and stopped in front of the nearest door. "Itachi!" he yelled, banging on Itachi's door. "Oni-san, what is it?" Itachi asked with concern as the door opened for him. "It's Sadako-chan. Come quickly, she's..." Sadako's scream sounded like daggers on his ears. Both Itachi and Sasuke ran to Sadako's room as fast as they could to find her on the floor, twisting in pain while father looked down at her in disgust. "Crying again, huh?" he said coldly, grabbing Sadako's hair and pulling her up. "You really are the Uchiha's shame. Let her go." Sasuke shouted as he started to run towards them. He knew father was bigger and stronger than him, but it didn't matter. He couldn't let him hurt Sadako. Father released Sadako as Sasuke punched his right side. "You little idiot," he yelled, kicking Sasuke out of the way. Sasuke landed heavily next to Itachi and winced when father raised his fist at him. The blow, however, was caught on midair by Itachi's hand. "What are you doing?" Father's face was red from anger. All he wasn't did was to protect her. "Can't you see that?" Itachi asked, kneeling next to Sadako. "It's none of your business." "Of course it is. She's my sister and I won't let you hurt her. She can't stay here anymore." Father hissed. "We can't allow this worthless thing to live here. She's only wasting our time. Please, let her stay." Sasuke begged at father's feet. "There's no room in this place that she can stay at. She can stay in my room." Sasuke offered. "We won't waste any food feeding her. Then I'll give her half of my food every day. She's sick. Then we'll take care of her." Itachi answered, cradling Sadako on his arms. "Fine, you can keep your stray dog, but if she ever comes out of your room, Sasuke, both of you damned twins are out of here." As father stomped angrily out of the room, Sasuke realized something. This was the first time anyone had accepted the fact that they were twins. "It'll never get better if you keep covering your eyes," Itachi told her as Sasuke passed her a clean bandage. Sadako looked at Sasuke with her tired red eyes. "It's to stop the blood," he answered, wrapping the clean bandage around Sadako's head to cover her sick eyes. Sadako whispered something on Sasuke's ear. Sasuke smiled and nodded. "Sadako wants to tell you something." "Huh?" She says, "Thank you, Oni-san." "No, please don't," 5-year-old Sasuke begged. "You can't take her away. You can't." He stood in front of Sadako, protecting her from those who wanted to take her. "But, Sasuke," mother said kindly, "they're sending her to someone who can heal her eyes. It will only get worse if she stays here." "I don't care. No one will help her, they'll just hurt her even more." He wrapped his arms around Sadako so that they couldn't snatch her away. What were they thinking? They were the Uchiha twins. Taking Sadako away would be like taking half of his life. "Sasuke, stop acting like that," father yelled. "They will train her to be a good kunoichi, that's all." 2 men stood at his sides and tried to pull Sadako away from him. "No," he pleaded. How he wished for Itachi to save them this time. "Itachi." He wanted to shout, "Oni-san, help us." But Itachi was out on a mission. There was no one to save them now. "Sasuke," Sadako whispered on his ear, her voice so faint that he was hardly sure to have heard it. "It's okay, Oni-san. Her voice was sad. I'll take care of myself. You've done enough. But, he was trying very hard not to cry. It's okay. Let me go. She pushed him gently away from her. Thank you for everything. Sasuke could only watch as the men grabbed Sadako's hands and led her outside. There was nothing he could do now. Where is Sadako? Itachi asked once he returned from his mission. She's gone, Sasuke told him. Gone? Gone where? I don't know. They didn't tell me. They just took her away. Didn't you try to stop them? I did, but she wanted to go. Sasuke's eyes were glassy. Itachi sighed. Wherever she is now, I just hope she's okay. But ever since that day, Itachi had changed. He never wanted to be around anyone, not even Sasuke. He was cold and distant. He forgot his family. He forgot his friends. He forgot Sadako. He forgot to smile. And then that terrible day came. The day when the Uchiha clan was whipped out. Sadako felt a little uncomfortable walking down the streets of Konoha. Anywhere they looked, people stared at them with curious eyes. Girls looked in dismay when they walked by. They kept staring at Sasuke's hand holding Sadako's. Why is everyone looking at us? Sadako asked her brother. Just ignore them, he said as they passed next to a bunch of girls who were whispering to each other and pointing at their joined hands. Where are we going, Oni-san? Nowhere, really. Just taking a walk. Konoha was a beautiful village, full of stores and buildings. Anywhere she looked there was something new. Something she'd never seen before. What are those? She asked as they turned a corner. There, outside a store, stood buckets of little colorful things. The morning breeze carried their soft smell to her nose. Tea those? Those are flowers, he answered, his eyes wide on surprise. Have you never seen a flower before? Well, she blushed. There aren't many flowers on the land of snow. Sasuke's expression changed from surprise to concern. Was it hard to live in there, Oni-san? Sadako looked down at her own right arm. Memories bumped into one another inside her head. Memories of snow and ice. Blood and suffering. Memories of death. Can we buy some? She asked, changing the subject. Sure, but let's find another flower shop. Why? This one looks fine to me. And with that, she walked inside the flower shop. Irashaimasu, a blonde girl greeted from the counter. Her blue eyes matched the bucket of blue flower she was holding. Ah, Sasuke-kun. Sasuke had walked into the store, his eyes stone cold. The blonde girl set the bucket on the counter and ran towards him. So nice of you to pay me a visit, she said, wrapping her arms around Sasuke's neck and almost climbing on his back. Get off me, he growled. The girl backed away from him and grinned. So, what brings you here? She asked. Came to buy some flowers for me? That's ironic, isn't it? Shut up. Sasuke looked pissed. I just brought my sister, she wanted to buy some flowers. Your sister? As if by reflex, she turned to face Sadako. You're Sasuke-kun's sister? She asked. Oh my god, you look so much alike. She jumped next to Sadako and studied her features. You look like Sasuke-kun with long hair. Perhaps she was exaggerating a little. Let me guess, you're twins, aren't you? Why yes, we are. The girl's enthusiasm was scaring Sadako. Sasuke-kun, you never told us anything. I had no idea. She held out her hand. Nice to meet you, I'm Yamanaka Ino. Nice to meet you. Sadako shook hands with Ino. I'm Uchiha Sadako. Sadako? That's such a pretty name. Ino walked back to Sasuke. If your sister wants flowers, you came to the right place. Ino reached into a bucket and pulled out a pink rose. This is for you, she said, handing it to Sadako. Pink flowers mean friendship. I hope we can become good friends. Oh, thank you, Ino-san. Sadako's black eyes sparkled with joy. She'd never seen something so beautiful. Konoha has many kind people. Sadako thought as they walked out of the flower shop while Ino waved goodbye to them. Did you know Sasuke-kun had a sister? Ino asked Shikamaru and Choji as soon as she saw them. A sister? Choji asked through a mouthful of chips. He never said anything about it. I know. I had no idea either. I just found out today when they visited my family's flower shop. Ino had to stop a few seconds to catch her breath. And I haven't told you the best part yet. They're twins. Hey, that's pretty cool. Choji said. How troublesome. Shikamaru sighed. As if we didn't had enough women in Konoha. And it's even worse if she looks like Sasuke. And what do you know, lazy boy? She sneered at Shikamaru. I'm going to tell Tenten about it. In her hurry, Ino tripped on her own feet and landed heavily on the floor. Shikamaru and Choji both laughed until Ino kicked the air out of them. A twin sister? Neji asked thoughtfully. How do you know that? Because Ino told me. Tenten answered, throwing a kunai towards Rock Lee, who easily dodged it. And how would Ino know that? Lee asked. Because, she sighed. Sasuke and his sister stopped at her flower shop early this morning. Whoa, I'll sure like to see her. Lee said on a rather high voice. Yet another opponent to challenge. Baka. Tenten slapped the back of Lee's head. Is that all you can think about? Still, Neji finally said, it'll be interesting to meet her. Really? It was strange to see Neji interested about something. Let's go see her then. We can't, we have a training session today. Rock Lee reminded her. Drat, I forgot about it. Did Ino told you her name? Neji asked. Oh, yeah, let's see, it was something like Sakuko. Sakako? No, Sadako. She finally concluded. Uchiha Sadako. Nobody noticed it, but at that moment, there was only one thing on Neji's mind. I have to tell Hinata-sama about it. So, what do you think of Konoha? Sasuke asked once they were back home. I think it's very beautiful. She answered. It's so warm and full of life. Thought you would like it. He grinned. But speaking of warm, aren't you hot wearing that sweater? No, not at all. Once again, Sasuke noticed Sadako's eyes drop to her right arm. What's the matter, Oni-san? Does your arm hurt? He reached out to take a look at her arm. No. She jumped back hastily. No, I'm fine, really. Why did Sadako look so nervous? It bothered him. Somehow, he knew there was something wrong with her. Something Sei wasn't telling him. He knew she was hiding something, but decided not to ask. If Sei was the same Sadako he'd loved so much 10 years ago, she would tell him sooner or later. So he decided to ask something he was curious about. Oni-san, he said, breaking the awkward silence that fell when Sadako jumped away from him. Why are you dressed like that? Dressed how? Well, your pants are too long and your shoes are different from mine. My pants are long because the land of snow is cold, and for that same reason my shoes are different. She answered. Sometimes, I had to walk knee-deep in snow. If your toes are exposed to such temperature, they would freeze and break apart. That's why my shoes aren't open-toed like yours. They're supposed to keep my feet warm. How cold is the land of snow? Sasuke asked. 32, Bello. What, that cold? He was shocked. How can anyone actually live in there? You get used to it after a while. She replied simply. Sasuke tried to imagine himself living in such a cold place, walking knee-deep in snow with frozen toes, but the only thing that came to his mind was the image of a frozen boy covered with snow. Anyways, he shook his head to make his frozen vision disappear. Why are you still wearing gloves? It isn't cold in here. My, you are so curious today, Oni-san. She giggled. Sasuke blushed. I just wanted to know. Can I ask you something, Oni-san? Go ahead. Is Ino-san your girlfriend? She asked, fidgeting with the pink rose Ino had given to her. What? No way. He was completely disgusted. How could his sister think something like that? Why not? She's so ugly and annoying. I think she's pretty. Well, maybe. But she's still annoying. Then, is the pink-haired girl your girlfriend? Of course not. If Ino was bad, Sakura was even worse. She's even more annoying. Then, you don't have a girlfriend? She asked. Why are you so interested about that? Because all the girls in Konoha turned their heads to look at you. I noticed it this morning. And since the pink-haired girl said, Sasuke-kun is mine. I don't know what's wrong with them. Sasuke sounded desperate. They're all crazy. They keep stalking me no matter where I go. The truth was, they really scared him sometimes. Not that he would let anyone know it. All Konoha girls are whores. He said coldly. Just remember that. All of them? She asked. Well, except Hinata. He blushed. And maybe Tenten. Oh poor Sasuke, there was something he didn't know. Sadako had never heard the word, whores, before. Sei completely ignored what it meant. Naruto spotted Sasuke's sister outside a grocery store. She was looking curiously at the man selling cotton candy across the street. Hey, he called out to her. How you doing, Sadako? Oh, Naruto-kun. It's so nice to see you again. I see you remembered my name. How could I forget the Hokage's name? She asked shyly. Naruto had never thought to hear such words, and especially not from an Uchiha. Hey, thanks, he said, his grin as sparkly as his eyes. So, where's Sasuke? He's inside there. She pointed towards the grocery store. Oni-san wanted me to bake cinnamon cookies, but we were out of cinnamon, so he came to buy some more. You think I can have some cookies when you're done? He asked, almost tasting the cinnamon. Of course, she said. It'll be an honor to bake cookies for the Hokage. Sadako seemed to be very convinced about Naruto's words. She really believed he would be the next Hokage. Hey, are those hats? She asked, looking at the cotton candy man from across the street. No, those are cotton candy. He laughed. Don't tell me you've never tasted cotton candy before. Sadako shook her head. What? But that's like a sin against nature. Naruto said. Don't worry, I'll buy you one so you can taste it. Oh, no. It's okay, I was just curious about it. Come on, you won't say no to your next Hokage, will you? He asked, leaning closer to her. He smelled like something bittersweet. And no, of course not. Okay, then. And he walked across the street to buy the cotton candy. Sakura and Ino had been rivals since academy days, but for this mission, they had to join forces. They both figured the only way to get closer to Sasuke was being Sadako's friend. Seeing how much he loved her, they could be close friends with him too. Whoever got to Sasuke's heart first, would be the winner. It was that simple. Sadako-chan, what a coincidence. Ino said, even though they had been following her. Ino-san, I didn't expect to see you here. It's nice to see you again. Sakura said. Oh, Sadako didn't know her name. I'm sorry, how very rude of me. Sakura slapped her forehead as if she'd forgotten something very important. I'm Haruno Sakura. Nice to meet you, Sakura-san. So, where's your brother? Ino asked. He's inside buying cinnamon. Can I ask you something, Sadako-chan? Sakura said. Has Sasuke-kun said anything about us? Well, he did say something. Sadako answered. Poor little Sadako. Oh, really? What did he say? They were both eager to know. He said, all Konoha girls are whores. Sakura and Ino stared blankly at her. Did Sasuke-kun say that? Sakura asked breathless. Yes, that's what he said, all Konoha girls are whores, except Hinata and Tenten. Ino was clenching her fists. Sakura was about to punch Sadako down when Naruto came back holding 3 bags of cotton candy. Here you go, Sadako. He handed her a pink cotton candy. I hope you like it. Thank you, Naruto-kun. She was wondering why the girls were staring at her like that. Ready to go, Oni-san? Sasuke asked, stepping out of the grocery store. Yes, we'll say later, okay? She waved goodbye at them. Don't forget about my cookies. Naruto reminded her. I won't forget it, she said, walking away with Sasuke holding her left hand. Ain't she sweet? He asked, turning to Sakura and Ino. Do you want some cotton candy? He offered them. But you have to eat the blue one because the purple one's for my Hinata. You and your Hinata can both go to hell. Sakura shouted, then stomped angrily away. And Tenten too, Ino yelled, marching behind Sakura. TCH. Crazy. Naruto mumbled, shoving a fistful of cotton candy into his mouth. Try this. Sasuke handed her a large orange sphere. What is it? Sadako asked. An orange. It's a fruit. Sadako held the fruit close to her face and smiled. What's funny? Sasuke asked. The orange smells like Naruto-kun. What was that baka saying about cookies? He said to save him some cinnamon cookies. But Oni-san, those are my cookies. He said childishly. Don't worry. I'll bake enough so you can eat as many as you like. As they walked down the street, people turned their heads towards them. Thanks to Ino and Tenten, now the entire village knew about them. Look, they heard someone whisper. The Uchiha twins. A test? Sadako mumbled. What kind of test? Kakashi-sensei wants to know how strong you are. Sasuke told her. That way, he can accept you in our team and we can go to missions together. How strong? I am, she repeated absent-mindedly. But you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Sasuke immediately said. If you don't want to fight, I'm sure Kakashi will understand. The truth was, he didn't really wanted Sadako to take the test. There was nothing that scared him more than the fact of his sister getting hurt. It's okay, she said bravely. I might not be so strong, but I'm not that weak either. Not that weak. Her words swirled around his head. That didn't mean she wouldn't get hurt. It only meant that she wouldn't get killed. Who do I have to fight, Oni-san? I'm not sure. He'll call all shinobi of our age and ask who wants to challenge you. Are they strong? She asked. Well, yes, I think so. He mentally searched for someone that could fight Sadako. It had to be someone weak, otherwise she might get hurt. Naruto? No, he answered himself. He might be an idiot, but he's still got the Kyuubi inside him. He imagined Sadako being hit by the Rasengan. No, not Naruto. He decided. Sakura? No. That girl had overhuman strength. She could turn Sadako's bones to dust. Not Sakura. Shikamaru? Perhaps. She would still lose to him because he was a genius, but his Kagemane no Jutsu wouldn't not hurt her as bad. Ino? Maybe. As long as Sadako never stopped moving. Otherwise, she would be caught by Ino's Shintenshin no Jutsu. Choji? No way. His Nikuden Sensha would stop her flat. Kiba and Akamaru? 2 against 1, and they could tear her apart if their Suga attack hit. Out of the question. Hinata? He was sure Hinata wouldn't hurt Sadako, but then again, Hinata would never volunteer to fight someone. Shino? Are you nuts? It would definitely not be Shino. Neji? He almost killed his cousin during the Chunin exams. Please, don't let it be Neji. Rock Lee? His taijutsu is strong. He remembered the fight they'd had 3 years ago. Not him. Tenten? Konoha's weapon mistress. He imagined Sadako being stabbed by 1,000 kunai. Think again, but there was no one left. Damn, they were all so strong. There was no one she could beat easily. Don't we have to go now? Sadako asked, snapping Sasuke back to reality. What? Oh, yeah, let's go. Kakashi and the others were waiting for them in the forest, next to the river. Kakashi introduced Sadako to the rest of the shinobi. They all told her their names. They were all so kind to her. Look at them, Sakura told Ino. They think she's so sweet. Yeah, Ino agreed, her words filled with poison. I bet they wouldn't like her that much if she wasn't Sasuke-kun's sister. They both frowned as the Hyuga cousins smiled kindly at her. She just called them Hinata-sama and Neji-sama because Oni-san says the Hyuga clan is the strongest one in Konoha. What a way to draw people's acknowledgement. Ino sneered. Nothing better than licking their shoes. Sakura nodded. So, are you gonna fight her? Yeah. Sakura smiled an evil smile. I'll teach her just who she called a whore. I'd fight her myself. Ino laughed. But I'm afraid you hit harder. Damn right. She agreed, brushing pink strands of hair away from her eyes. Let's start the test, Kakashi said on a high voice to be heard over the shinobi's chattering. Who wants to fight Sadako? Silence. Only Sakura raised her hand. I'll do it, sensei, she said on her most innocent voice. Okay, Sadako? He pointed to a clearing in the forest. Would you mind standing over there? Your test is about to begin. Both girls stood on the clearing facing each other. Finally, Sakura taught, I can get my revenge on this brat. You should put on your headband. Sadako told her. TCH, like I will need it. Sakura bragged loud enough so that everyone will hear it. Just a second, Sadako said. She pulled out a ribbon from her pocket and picked her black hair on a ponytail. The hair gets in my eyes. She hadn't finished tying the ribbon when Sakura reached into her kunai pouch and threw a kunai directly at her. Sadako had no time to move. The kunai hit her left forearm. A few drops of blood prayed from the wound, but Sadako didn't even wince in pain. What are you doing? Tenten yelled. She had her guard down. Well, it's not my fault. Sakura replied. Sadako finished tying the ribbon and it was then that she finally seemed to notice the wound. Oh? She mumbled, pulling the kunai out of her arm. Have we started already? Inner Sakura. WTF? What's wrong with her? Sakura gathered chakra on her fist and ran towards Sadako. This is all I need. She thought. One hit will be enough to bring her down. She threw a fist trying to hit Sadako's face, but Sadako put her right arm on the way. Crack! A sickening snapping sound echoed through the forest. Sakura let out a cry in pain. She pulled her fist back and was about to hit again when Sadako's fist crashed on her forehead. Sakura flew back and hit against a nearby tree. Sakura, get up! Ino yelled. She tried to, but her head was throbbing as if it had life of itself. It felt like her skull had cracked where Sadako hit. She held her fist, all 4 fingers were busted. What was wrong with Sadako's arm? Sakura was strong, she could break stone walls with a single blow, but Sadako's arm didn't even look hurt. There was something unnatural about it, otherwise it would have been shattered to bits. Sakura opened her eyes. Sadako was standing a few meters away from her. I told you to put it on, she said, picking Sakura's headband and tossing it to her. It had fallen off when she hit Sakura. There was something different about her voice now. It wasn't sweet and kind. It was cocky and strong. "I don't need it," she spat, trying to keep her voice normal. A wave of dizziness swept through her when she tried to stand up. She bent down and threw up, her head hurt just so much. "We can stop if you want to," Sadako offered. Her voice sounded kind again. "We don't have to." "Shut up," Sakura shouted angrily. She regained her balance and looked at Sadako. "I'm not losing to you," she screamed. "I'm serious." "Hey Sakura, try not to get killed," Kiba joked. "We're fighting seriously?" Sadako smiled and closed her eyes. "What's funny?" Sakura was getting angrier every second. "Nothing is," Sadako answered. She opened her eyes again. Crimson-red orbs stared into Sakura's green eyes. The forest echoes with gasps. No one but Sasuke knew Sadako could use the Sharingan, and he was shocked. "You think that scares me?" Sakura laughed. "This isn't the first time I've seen eyes like those." She couldn't hit Sadako again. Her left hand was swollen and using her right would only break 4 more fingers. Inner Sakura. "Who cares? Let's kick her ass, Shanaru." She attacked Sadako again, but this time Sei was careful to avoid her right arm. Sadako dodged every hit easily. Sakura kicked and punched as hard as she could, but it was no use. Sadako took a step back and tripped over a root that was sticking from the ground. "Gotcha." Sakura kicked her hard on the stomach. Sadako flew back and landed head first on the ground. "Oni-san." Sasuke was about to run into the battlefield when she got back on her feet. "Nice hit," she said, wiping blood from her mouth. "I didn't even saw it coming." Inner Sakura. "What the hell is this bitch made of?" Sakura tried to kick her again but Sadako jumped into the river. "That won't save you." Sakura followed her and jumped into the river too. Sadako disappeared before her own eyes and the next thing she knew, Sadako had knocked her to the ground. Sakura laid on her knees, half of her body inside the water. She tried to get up, but her legs failed. Sadako jumped and began making hand signs. Ice-style, freezing beam jutsu. Cold air blasted out of her mouth and hit the river. Sakura was still inside the river when it froze and turned to ice. Fuck. Sakura pulled her arms and legs trying to break free, but it was no use. She froze the whole damned river. Sadako jumped again and threw a fist at her direction. Sakura closed her eyes, expecting to hit any minute. Crack. The snapping sound came again, but Sakura felt no pain. She opened her eyes and found Sadako's fist buried in the ice. The frozen river broke apart and Sakura was released from the ice prison. "What are you doing?" she asked weakly. "I think that's far enough," Sadako answered, helping Sakura to her feet. "But," Sakura mumbled, "being a good kunoichi is not about reckless fighting." Sadako looked away. "It's about knowing when to fight or when to stop." Sakura lost her balance and fell. She reached out to grab Sadako's hand, but all she did was pull off her black glove. Sakura looked up and gasped. Sadako's hand was smooth and transparent, as if it was made of ice. Sadako took back her black glove and put it back on. "What is? Please," she begged. "Don't tell Sasuke about it." "Congratulations," Sasuke said happily. "I just talked to Kakashi-sensei. He was so impressed with your fighting style, that form now on your part of our team." "Do you think I'm a good kunoichi?" his sister asked shyly. "Are you kidding?" Sasuke asked. "I'm so proud of you I could cry." "Really?" "Sure. I'd never seen ice ninjutsu before, it's so cool." Sadako smiled. To him, her smile was the sweetest, most beautiful thing in the whole world. Sasuke reached out and held her face between his hands. "You never told me you could use Sharingan. I thought it was pretty obvious," she answered. "Are you ever going to tell me how your eyes got better?" "Well," she looked down at her right arm then shook her head no. "Then tell me, how did you manage to stop Sakura's blow?" He looked curiously at her. "You even broke her hand. How do you know that?" she asked. "Come on, we all heard when her fingers snapped, besides, her hand was swollen." "I'm not sure, I just put my arm on the way." "Then what's your arm made of?" He laughed. He stopped smiling when he noticed Sadako's horrified expression. "What is it? Did I say something wrong?" Suddenly, they heard someone knocking on the door. "I'll get it." Sadako jumped up. She opened the door. Naruto and Hinata were standing there. "Hey!" Naruto yelled as soon as he saw Sadako. "That was a great fight you had today." Hinata smiled sweetly at them. Sasuke's heart skipped a beat. Good night Hinata. Sasuke smiled politely, then turned to Naruto. What are you doing here Baka? Your sister promised me some cookies. He grinned. Oh, that's right. Sadako remembered. Wait here, I'll go get them. She ran into the kitchen and came back holding a package. Here you go. She handed the package to Naruto. I hope you like them. Thanks. He smiled. Hinata offered them a small package wrapped with blue ribbons. Sasuke took the package and looked inside. I baked chocolate muffins. She said. And IW wanted you to have some. Thank you Hinata. Sasuke's eyes were cloudy. You'll like them no doubt. Naruto grinned. My Hinata is the best cook in all Konoha. Hinata turned bright red. Sasuke's heart ached. She looked so cute when Sei did that. He'd always thought Hinata was the prettiest girl in Konoha. She was the only girl he'd ever liked. But she'd always been in love with Naruto, she'd never had eyes for anyone else. It took the Baka 3 years to realize she had feelings for him, but when he finally noticed it, he was overjoyed. Now he walked with her through the streets of Konoha, holding her hand and calling her my Hinata. That was how he called her so that everyone would know how much he loved her. It made Sasuke's heart ached whenever he heard Naruto called her that. He wished Hinata would like him instead of Naruto. He wished she was his Hinata, not Naruto's. Oni-san. He heard Sadako calling him. Huh? What is it? He blinked. Where's Naruto and Hinata? They left a while ago. When? They were standing just here. Sadako put her hand to Sasuke's forehead. Are you feeling okay? She asked worriedly. You just waved goodbye to them. I did? Oh, yeah, I did. He laughed. I was just kidding. Well, it wasn't funny. She frowned. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. He apologized. Can we go to sleep now? I'm really tired. Sure. Sadako woke up on the middle of the night. She checked to make sure Sasuke was sleeping, then tiptoed to the bathroom and locked herself inside. She took out her blue pajama shirt and looked into the mirror. Her right arm, from the tip of her fingers to her shoulder, was smooth and transparent. It was made of ice. At least it hasn't spread lately. She whispered to herself. It was a beautiful morning, the sky was clear and the sun fell warm upon Konoha's forest. All done, Sakura told herself. She stood up and picked a basket full of medicinal herbs. Tsunade-sama needed those as ingredients for new medicine. A soft breeze blew through her bubblegum pink hair, messing it up. She pushed locks of hair away from her eyes and the bandage on her hand brushed against the bandage on her forehead. Sakura clenched her fist, it still hurt a little. After the fight against Sadako, her hand and forehead had been swollen, but thanks to her ability as a medic ninja, they didn't look so bad now. Tsunade told her the pain will go away soon. She'd taken a serious hit when the chakra in her fist backfired. Since she couldn't break Sadako's arm, the chakra found no way out and it bounced back against her own hand. The swelling was gone and her fingers had been put back in place, but her skin was still purple due to the unshed blood. Sakura heard someone coming. She looked up and was surprised to see Sasuke running towards her. Sakura, she heard him call out. As he got closer, she could see Sasuke carrying Sadako on his back. Inner Sakura. Come on, aren't they a little old for that? Sakura, he called as he got closer. We need your help. What is it Sasuke-kun? Where's Tsunade-sama? She's on her office. Why? Thanks. He ran past her without even stopping. I owe you one. As he ran away carrying his twin, Sakura felt something wet splash against her face. She reached out to clean it and found her fingers tainted in red. Blood? Not just any blood, she realized. Uchiha blood. Sasuke burst inside Tsunade's office with a desperate look on his face. Tsunade-sama, I need your help. His face was red and he was gasping for air. Godem had been taken by surprise. Please, I need your help. He cried again. Sadako Ishirtan bleeding Andy don't know what to do you have to Hellfaro please Hellfer. Sasuke, calm down. Tsunade told him, it wasn't like Sasuke to act like this. If your sister needs medical attention, we have to take her to the hospital. Hurry up, he urged. My sister's dying in here. I'm fine, Sadako told him. It doesn't hurt, really. Don't worry Oni-san, Tsunade-sama will help you. Sadako just sighed and stared at her brother. Oni-san, you're overreacting. Sakura stepped inside the hospital room where the Uchiha twins were being helped by Tsunade-sama. Now tell me, what happened to Sadako? Tsunade asked Sasuke. We were training in the forest. He explained. Sadako jumped and landed on a patch of grass. We didn't knew there were Makibishi spikes in there. She landed on them and now her feet are hurt. Makibishi spikes? Tsunade got closer to Sadako's bed. Let me see. She lifted Sadako's right foot and Sakura uttered a soft cry. The Makibishi spikes had gone through her shoe and were buried deeply in her skin. Blood slowly dripped from the wounds and splashed on the floor. Tsunade looked at her feet and frowned. I suppose, she told Sadako on a serious voice, that you tried to walk after stepping on the spikes, didn't you? Sadako blushed and nodded. That was very careless of you. Tsunade scolded. If the spikes were on your shoes, it wouldn't be so serious, but now it's gonna be very hard to pull them out of your skin. It wasn't her fault, Sasuke said defensively. She just jumped out of the grass to avoid stepping on them again. Jumped? And landed on her feet again? Tsunade shook her head. You're lucky the spikes didn't got inside her skin. Will you just help her already? Sasuke was getting impatient. Tsunade stared at him blankly. Ah, yes. Sorry, I got carried away. She apologized. Sakura. She heard Tsunade call. Bring me that tub of water and some clean bandages. Okay. Shizune, bring me some healing ointment. Hi. Shizune ran out of the room to find the ointment. This might hurt a little, but I need you to stay very still, okay? She told Sadako. Okay. Tsunade used her chakra to grab the spikes and pull them out of Sadako's feet. It was a hard task since they were buried deeply and Sadako's shoes kept getting on the way. Every time Tsunade pulled a spike out of her skin, blood streamed from the wound. Tsunade would then use her chakra to close the wound and stop the bleeding. Sakura remembered her fight against Sadako. When the kunai hit her arm, Sadako hadn't even winced in pain. The same thing was happening now. Tsunade kept pulling the Makibishi spikes from her feet, but Sadako didn't seem to notice it. She didn't cry, she didn't winced, she didn't sobbed or gasped or screamed like everyone did. She just sat there, with a bored look on her face while Sasuke held her left hand. Pain and despair were reflected on his eyes. It was clear how much he cared about his sister. Once the spikes had been pulled out, Tsunade took out Sadako's shoes and finished closing the wounds. She took a clean bandage soaked with water and began cleaning Sadako's feet. The door burst open and Shizune stepped inside. Here's the healing ointment. She handed Tsunade a small bottle. Sadako's feet were healed and covered with bandages. Sasuke's face finally returned to normal. Can I take her home? He asked Tsunade. I'm not sure if she can walk already. It's okay, I can carry her back home. Okay, she sighed. But you have to sign this. She handed him a sheet of paper and a pen. What's this? It's just a document where you agree to take the patient home under your own responsibility. What's it for? Just so I won't get in trouble with the daimyo when they make an inspection. Sasuke signed and handed the document back to Tsunade. He carried his sister on his back again and walked out of the hospital room. Thank you, they both said before closing the door behind them. Here, Tsunade handed the document to Sakura. Please take this to the office for me. Hi. As she walked down the streets of Konoha, she looked at the document and found something odd. Uchiha Sasuke, Uchiha Sadako. Their initials were the same, but not only that. Us. She thought out loud. Their initials spell, us. What are you doing, Oni-san? Sasuke asked the next morning. You can't get up just yet. I'm fine, Sadako told him. It doesn't hurt anymore. But, I have something to do. She interrupted him. And I need you to do something for me. Sakura, there's a boy here who wants to see you. I'm coming, Mom. She ran downstairs and was surprised to see Sasuke standing on the doorway. Sasuke-kun. What, but. It wasn't like Sasuke to be looking for her, even though they were teammates. Here, without even looking at her, he held out his hand and offered her a pink rose. Sakura blushed and took the flower from his hand. Thank you, Sasuke-kun. She smiled at him sweetly. Sadako wanted you to have it. He said. Oh. Sakura's hopes were blown away with the morning breeze. She also gave me this. He handed her a letter. Sakura took it and stared at it. Why would Sadako send her a letter? And Sasuke began, his left eyebrow twitching. I wanted to thank you for helping my sister. But, I didn't, you're welcome? She giggled nervously, she hadn't really helped that much. Well, I have to go now. He said, turning away. Sakura closed the door and stared at Sadako's letter. I wonder what it says. She unfolded the letter and began to read. Sakura-san, I just wanted to thank you for helping us yesterday. Ino-san told me that pink roses mean friendship, so I hope we can become good friends. Also, about last time, I think I misunderstood Sasuke's words. I believe he said hordes, or something like that, because whores isn't even a word, is it? How terribly dumb of me. Forgive me, but there are many words that I'm not yet familiar with. Sasuke told me you were really strong, I just never thought you were that strong. Sorry about your hand, I didn't meant for it to end that way. But thank you for not telling Oni-san about my right arm. Please, keep it as a secret. Uchiha Sadako. Sakura finished reading and couldn't help but to smile. How innocent, or stupid, could someone be? Whores is a word, she laughed. I'm glad you don't know what it means. This place is so boring. Kankuro told Hai siblings as they walked down the streets of Konoha. Stop complaining, Kankuro, we're here on a mission. Temari reminded him. Come on. As if we didn't know the only reason you're here is because of Shikamaru. Shut up. Temari spat. Would you tow with that? Gaara asked, annoyed. Yes, Gaara. Sorry, Gaara. They both knew Gaara had changed in the last years. He behaved more like their brother every day. He had stopped killing the innocent for the simple matter of doing so. He had stopped looking like a monster before their eyes. But they had been terrorized by him for 12 years. It was hard to let go of all the fear they had towards him. If we don't hurry, As they turned a corner, Gaara bumped against a strange-looking raven-haired girl who was coming from the opposite way. Gaara was forced to take a step back, but the girl stumbled backwards and fell. The grocery bags she was holding flew off her hands, scattering their contents all over the floor. Ouch! She cried out as she landed heavily on the floor. I'm sorry. I didn't see you coming. Gaara stared coldly at her. Sand began to stream out of the gourd he was carrying. It swirled around his feet and around the raven-haired girl. Gaara, wait, Temari pleaded. It was an accident. Don't do it, Gaara. Kankuro begged. She said she was sorry. Gaara walked closer to her, the sand swirling furiously around his feet. He held out his hand and, I'm sorry. He apologized, offering his hand to help her up. I should have been more careful. The girl looked up, her charcoal black eyes clashing against Gaara's mid-green eyes. She grabbed his hand and stood up, her eyes blinking curiously at him. Thank you, she told him. Please forgive my clumsiness. She looked around to find her bags. Oh no, she stared in despair at her scattered bags. She took a step forward to reach her bags and slipped over Gaara's sand. Ah! Gaara made a fast move and caught her on midair. She turned as red as the apples that were scattered under her feet. The girl jumped away from Gaara and apologized for her clumsiness again and again. As she did this, Gaara's sand picked up her groceries and placed them back in the bags. Here, he said, handing her the bags. You dropped this. Thank you. She took them back. You're not from around here, are you? Temari asked her. No, I'm not. She answered shyly. I'm from the Snow Village. That village exists? Kankuro asked. Of course it does, Baka. Temari scolded. Can't you see her headband? Then why did you ask her in the first place, Temari? Gaara stared at them. You look familiar. Gaara told her. Perhaps you know my brother. She told him. His name's Uchiha Sasuke. You're his sister? Temari asked. The girl nodded. My name's Uchiha Sadako. She said. Where were you? Sasuke asked worriedly. You've been out all day. I was buying our dinner. Sadako answered. You could have at least told me. If I come back home and you're not here, I get worried, you know. But I left a note. She pointed to a note stuck on the refrigerator. Oh, Sasuke blushed. I'm sorry, Oni-san, I didn't see it. He helped Sadako with her bags and looked inside them. You bought blueberries, I love them. He told her. I thought you would. She smiled. After dinner they got up to Sasuke's room. Are your feet better, Oni-san? Sasuke asked. Yes, they don't hurt anymore. I'm glad. He laid on their bed next to her and stared at her black gloves. You don't have to wear them when you're asleep. He told her. It's hot in here, but I'm cold, she said. Sasuke wrapped his arms around her to keep her warm, even though he knew it wasn't a cold night. Oni-san? Yes? I dreamt with Itachi last night. She whispered. Forget about him, Sasuke said coldly. I'm sure he already forgot about us. But, why did he leave us? She sobbed. He was our brother too, wasn't he? Sasuke gritted his teeth. Itachi had caused him a lot of pain and now he was hurting his sister too. He's not our brother anymore. But, you have me, Sasuke told her, running his hand down her charcoal black hair. I will always be there for you, no matter what. It will always be the two of us, and no one will ever take us apart. We'll always be the Uchiha twins. Uchiha Sasuke. Uchiha Sadako. Temari stared curiously at Gaara. He'd always been quiet, but there was something different this time. They were sitting on the roof of their house. Because of his insomnia problem, Gaara had done this every night since he was a 3-year-old. Now that they were a family, at last, the 3 Sand siblings sat on the roof every night to talk about their missions and act like the family they thought they'll never have. Gaara liked watching the moon. That was something Temari and Kankuro had both realized. He stared at it every night because, the moon knows my pawn, he once told them. But tonight he was just staring blankly ahead, and on his normally expressionless face, there was a glint of confusion. He'd been like this for 3 days. Ever since he met the raven-haired girl with the charcoal black eyes. Is something wrong, Gaara? Temari finally dared to ask. You've been so quiet lately. Gaara didn't answer. Yeah, Kankuro agreed. You've been like this since we met the Uchiha's sister. Oh, great. Leave it to Kankuro to ruin Temari's idea of a nice talk. Gaara would probably get mad now. But he didn't. He just kept staring blankly ahead. Blind justice. Gaara told them absent-mindedly. What? Temari asked. You remember the story of blind justice, who judges the acts of people depending on their reasons? He asked her. She was blind, because she judged each person with the eyes of her heart and knew whether they had done a good action with bad intentions or something cruel for a good reason. Do you remember that story, Temari? Temari nodded. Both Kankuro and her were aware of how much Gaara liked that story. There was a giant statue of blind justice on the far side of Suna. She stood there, with her eyes bandaged, her arms outstretched, holding a balance on her right hand. As kids, they'd seen Gaara visit the statue many times. Every time someone hurt him, either by trying to kill him or calling him monster, Gaara would sit at her feet, shedding tears he always hid from everyone else. So many times had Temari and Kankuro seen him. So many times had they followed him, just to make sure he'll come home safely. So many times had they seen him, and wanted to hug him, but were ashamed. Wanted to comfort him, but were afraid. It hurt to know Gaara trusted blind justice more than he'll ever trust them. They were his siblings, and they loved him, but he preferred her. She, who had blind eyes that could not see his suffering. She, who had ears of stone that couldn't hear his cries for help. She, who would never turn her back on him out of fear like they'd done so many times before. He trusted her more than he'll ever trust them. He loved her more than he'll ever love them. Those who could see, and hear, and feel. Those 2 persons who were afraid to show him how much they loved him. It hurt so much to see Gaara like that, but things were different now. But Gaara, what does blind justice has to do with this? Temari asked, snapping out of her memories. That girl, Sasuke's sister. He spoke softly. She looks like blind justice. Sasuke woke up as a little blue bird pecked on his forehead. Ow. He waved his hand over his head to hush it away. Get out of here, you stupid bird. He sat up on his bed and watched as the little bird flew off the window. Oni-san, did you leave the window open? He expected Sadako to answer, but when he looked down, she wasn't next to him. Sadako? He fixed his messed up black hair and walked towards the bathroom. He knocked on the door but no response came. Sadako. He shot from his bedroom window to be heard even if she was downstairs. Are you down there? Still no answer. Sasuke walked downstairs and stepped inside the kitchen. If Sadako was awake already, she was probably making breakfast. She wasn't there. All he found was a plate of hotcakes and a note next to it. He took the note and read it. Oni-san, I'm out taking a walk. I wanted you to come with me, but you looked so tired, I didn't want to wake you up. I made breakfast for you, hope you like it. Don't worry, I'll be back by lunchtime. Love, Sadako. Sasuke set the note on the table and picked up a fork. As he chewed on his hotcakes, he couldn't help to feel a little sad. Had she really not wanted to wake him up? Or was it that she just didn't want to be with him today? Gaara hid behind a tree. He didn't know why, but he felt nervous. He was Sabaku no Gaara, able to keep a cold heart even if he was fighting or killing someone. Able to stay emotionless even if the person in front of him was begging for his life. But standing behind this tree now, it was something different. There, sitting on the river's edge, her bare feet splashing on the water, was Uchiha Sadako. He stared at her long hair and angel-like face. And she looks like Sasuke, remember? So calm, so cold. She looked so much like the giant statue he'd trusted as a child. He wanted to talk to her, but why? He felt so nervous, but she was just another girl. He'd seen so many of them before, and felt nothing inside. He'd killed so many of them before, and felt no remorse at all. What was it about her that felt different? Why couldn't he gather enough courage to take a step forward and talk to her? He was about to turn around and leave, when he heard her voice calling him. "Why are you hiding from me?" she said softly. "Won't you come and sit next to me?" Gaara gulped and walked slowly towards her. His eyes were nailed on the floor and there was a strange sensation on his face that made him feel like his cheeks were burning. Sadako turned around to look at him. The instant she saw him, her cheeks turned bright red and she jumped quickly to her feet. "Sumimasen." She bowed low, her eyes avoiding him. "Sumimasen. Gomenasai. I thought you were Sasuke." "Gomenasai." He saw her apologize again and again. Her hair flapped on the wind as she bowed up and down like a mechanical doll. "I thought you were Oni-san." She bowed yet again. "Gomenasai, gomenasai, gomen." "Drop it." He interrupted her. "You don't have to apologize so many times, one is enough." Hi. Gaara sat on the river's edge and fixed his eyes on the clear water. Why couldn't he stop feeling so nervous? He refused to turn his gaze towards Sadako. There was something about her that made him feel weird. He felt her eyes looking at him curiously and wondered how weird would a red-haired boy carrying an oversized gourd of sand look like in her eyes. How weird would she think he was? Why was he worrying about this stuff anyways? Every person he'd ever met had thought he was weird. So, why did this girl's opinion meant so much to him? "Ito, you are Gaara-sama, right?" she asked, sitting on the river's edge next to him. Gaara turned to look at her. The first time they met, he never told her his name. She must have read the questioning look on his eyes, because she quickly gave him an answer. "Oh, Oni-san told me your name," she explained. "I told him I had met a red-haired boy with green eyes, a blonde-haired girl carrying a giant fan and a boy with purple paintings on his face. He told me you are shinobi from Suna and that your name is Gaara, is that true?" Gaara nodded, but was afraid of what Sasuke had told his sister. If he'd told her about Shukaku, no, if that was true, she would have ran the moment she saw him. "Was that all he said?" he asked, his eyes fixed on the bangs of hair at each side of her face. They were the same as Sasuke's hair. "He said why you fought him on the Chunin exams 3 years ago, and that you're really strong." She was hiding something, he knew by the way she stuttered while talking. Sasuke must have told her. "Was that all?" he demanded. His voice was higher than he hopped. He didn't meant to yell, but he just had to know. Sadako sighed. "Jinchuriki," she whispered. "He said you're possessed by the Ichibi. He says you're strong and dangerous. Don't get close to him. He'll kill you, is what Oni-san told me. He's a monster, that's what he said." Gaara's heart seemed to stop beating and there was that awful feeling of falling into nothingness. Monster. Monster she'd called him. Blind Justice had just called him a monster. He wanted to explain, to tell her he was as human as everyone else. That every single person he'd ever killed was for a reason. That they tried to hurt him, he was just trying to survive. But, why bother? She wouldn't understand, no one would ever understand. They were not him, they didn't know his pain and how much he'd suffered. This girl probably knew nothing about justice. She wasn't Blind Justice, no matter how much alike they looked. "But," she said softly, "I don't believe him." Gaara's eyes grew wide. What had she just said? "I do as Sasuke tells me to and trust every single thing he says. But this time, I'm afraid he's wrong." "What makes you so sure?" Gaara asked, standing up. "If you wanted to kill me," she smiled at him, "you would have done it already. Are you not afraid at all?" Great, now he was stuttering too. She shook her head no. "I saw you that day, when you used your sand to pick up my bags. You control the sand doesn't control you." She took her shoes from the river's edge and put them back on. "It must be a great burden to carry such a heavy secret on your back. I know how it's like to be rejected by others, even those you love. I won't judge you, I have no right, but the only thing I can say for sure is that you are not a monster." Gaara's heart began beating so hard, it felt like it would jump out of his chest. His limbs felt weak and shaky and his cheeks felt like burning once again. How do I know? She asked sweetly. No monster has eyes as sad as yours. Her charcoal black eyes clashed against Gaara's mint-green eyes. It was then that he noticed it. Sadako's eyes were sad too. You've been alone too, haven't you? Yes, but not anymore. She stood up and brushed some death leaves from her legs. Now that I have my brother with me, I'm no longer alone. Gaara looked away. His siblings had helped him too. Thanks to them, he was no longer alone. You know, I could really use a friend. She told him. Would you? Gaara was surprised to find himself smiling to this girl he barely knew. She was so different from everyone else. She couldn't be real. Yes, I'll be your friend, he said softly. Temari? She heard Gaara call her. What is it, Gaara? She was telling Kankuro to pick up his puppets from the living room. Can I talk to you for a minute? Sure. They both got upstairs and Temari began to climb the stairs that lead to the roof. No, not the roof, he said. Let's go to the nurse. I think I'm sick. Sick? She asked, placing her hand on his forehead. Do you have fever? No, he said, but I think I had fever a while ago. My cheeks felt like burning and my legs were shaking. Burning cheeks and shaky legs? Temari asked. Gaara had never gotten sick, never. Suddenly, a strange idea crossed her mind. Tell me, Gaara, did your heart start beating so hard it felt like it was gonna jump out of your chest? Yes. And did you feel very nervous? Uh-huh. And did you find yourself smiling for no reason at all? Yes. He was getting impatient. Tell me, did this happen when you were talking to a certain person, let's say, a girl? Yup. And would that certain person happen to be, I don't know, Uchiha Sadako? Gaara nodded. Temari grinned. It was so obvious. Her mind went back to the time Gaara had met Sadako. When she slipped on Gaara's sand, he'd caught her himself. Any other time, he would have used his sand. Gaara, I think I know what's wrong with you, she said on a serious voice. You have a serious disease. Gaara gulped. Gaara, Ototo, I think you are in love. Temari cheered, clapping her hands. Gaara blinked, confused. In love? What does that mean, Temari? Come on. You have the word tattooed on your forehead and you don't know what it means? Gaara stared blankly at her. You'll find out someday, she sighed. 2 days later, while Gaara and Kankuro walked down the streets of Konoha, they found Sadako outside a candy shop talking to Naruto. What happened to your hand? Gaara asked her, pointing to a bandage on her left index finger. Oh, this? She covered her hand with the sleeve of her sweater. It's nothing, just a little scratch. Gaara stared questioningly at Naruto. We were out on a mission to capture some bandits, Naruto explained. One of them threw a kunai and it cut her finger. It's just a minor scratch, but Sasuke no Baka always overreacts and now he's furious because we couldn't catch him. I see, Gaara said coldly. Do you remember his name? Not really, but they called him Stealth, Naruto said, scratching his spiky blonde hair. You've got to be kidding me, boy. Stealth laughed, popping out of nowhere and challenging me. You must be very brave, too bad you'll die here. He ran towards Gaara but was suddenly trapped between walls of sand. Sabaku Q. Gaara held his hand on front of his face. What are you doing? Stealth shrieked. Gaara smiled evilly at him. Sabaku Susu. The walls of sand compressed and a sickening sound of cracking bones echoed as blood flew on every direction and fell like rain on Gaara. Oh, my God! Temari cried, terrified. Gaara, what did you do? She stared in horror at her little brother. He was mostly covered in blood and held a triumphant smile on his face. Nothing, he said innocently. Just a little bit of blind justice. A sleepover, what is that? Sadako asked. Tenten smiled and explained what a sleepover was about. Eating junk food, talking about each other's private lives, sleeping late, that kind of stuff. We're having a sleepover tonight at Hinata's house, Tenten told her. So, do you want to come? Sadako gave Sasuke a questioning look. It seemed like she couldn't do anything without his approval. Can I go, Oni-san? She asked him sweetly. Please, but, Oni-san, are you sure you want to go? Sasuke asked. It sounds really boring. Sadako's face dropped. It was obvious that she wanted to go, but her lovely brother wouldn't let her. Oh, come on, Sasuke. Tenten begged him. It will only be one night. We're not trying to steal your sister or anything, we just want to have some fun. Besides, Hinata will be disappointed. She really wants Sadako to come. At the mention of Hinata's name, Sasuke blushed slightly and looked away from her. Bingo, Tenten thought. Oh okay, he sighed. If you really want to go, it's fine. Just be careful Sadako. Don't worry, Tenten said. She snatched Sadako's hand away from his grasp and turned to leave. We'll take good care of her. It was really sweet of Sasuke to care so much for his sister, but to Tenten's opinion, he was being a little bit overprotective. Geez, the girl was 15, she could take care of herself. Hinata looked around, everyone had come. She was glad they were all gathered there. It had taken a lot of effort to convince her father on letting the girls sleep on her room. It would have been a waste of effort if at least one of them was absent, but they were all here. Nice pajama Ino pig, Sakura said sarcastically, referring to the oversized sky blue t-shirt and slippery socks that Ino was wearing. And what about you, wide forehead? Ino asked, pointing at Sakura's outfit. She was wearing a little pink spaghetti strap blouse with a bunny print and some really short pink shorts with flowery designs. Didn't you know you were supposed to wear something? But I must say, the bunny looks really cute. Okay. Tenten stood up, brushing crumbs of popcorn from her skirt. She was wearing a little soft pink sleeping dress decorated with white ribbons and lace. Let's start with the games. Which one should we play first? Truth or dare? Sakura said through a mouthful of chocolate. Sadako-san, do you know how to play that game? Hinata asked, fixing her lilac silk gown on her shoulders. Under the gown, she wore a lavender sleeping dress that was also made of silk. Being the Hyuga's heiress had its advantages. Not really, Sadako answered. She was wearing a dark blue long-sleeved pajama shirt. Her pants were also dark blue and she was wearing black gloves even though it wasn't cold. Let's make it more interesting, Ino said, taking a sip from her strawberry-flavored soda. We ask a question and then think of a dare that's related to that question. I don't get it, Tenten said. Okay, Hinata, you go first. Ino said. Here's your question. Sakura broke in. Is Naruto your boyfriend? Hinata blushed and nodded. Come on, what kind of question is that? Ino complained. We all knew the answer. Now the dare. Sakura smiled evilly. I dare you to call Naruto and tell him how much you love him. They all stared at Hinata, who had turned bright red and was shaking uncontrollably. But I can't do that, he. Nah Naruto-kun, how can I? That's your dare Hinata, you have to do it. Tenten told her. Hinata picked up the phone and began to dial Naruto's phone number. Put him on the speaker, we want to her. Ino said. The phone rang 1, 2, 3 times. Hello. They heard Naruto's voice from the other side. Who is it? Nah Naruto-kun? Hinata stuttered. Hinata. Naruto's voice reflected his happiness. What is it, do you need something? No, not really. I just wanted to tell you how much I love you, because she was so nervous, she almost yelled the last 3 words on the phone. Everyone, including Sadako, stared open-mouthed at Hinata. They never thought she would do it. Elsewhere, someone's heart, wonder who, had just broken into tiny pieces. Well, thanks Hinata. Naruto sounded confused. I love you too, you know? Ask him how much. Ino whispered. How much do you love me? Hinata asked him. Come on silly, don't you know? I love you more than anything. He answered. How sweet. Tenten whispered. Am I more important than becoming Hokage? Hinata asked, not because the girls had asked her to do so, but just because she wanted to know. Everyone held their breath, waiting for Naruto's answer. No, he said without thinking much. All girls gasped in unison. Hinata was about to burst in tears when Naruto spoke up again. You're much more important than becoming Hokage. Nice done. Ino cheered as soon as Hinata hung down the phone. That was very cool. Yeah, I never thought you'll did. Sakura laughed. Ino whacked her in the head. Ow, why did you do that? Next up, Tenten, who do you like? Ino asked. Me? Tenten stuttered. Well, I like. She was interrupted by someone knocking on the bedroom's door. Coming, Hinata called out. She opened the door and was surprised to find her cousin Neji standing on the other side. Neji-Nisan, is something wrong? Hinata-sama, did you heard a strange noise a few minutes ago? He asked. Strange noise? No, why? Hiyashi-sama and I heard a strange noise coming from the roof. We checked but couldn't find anything. Neji explained. Hiyashi-sama asked me to check if you girls were okay. Yes, we are okay. Hinata told him. Don't worry, if we hear anything we will tell you. Okay, then. Good night Hinata-sama, he said as he walked towards his room. Good night Neji-Nisan. Hinata closed the door. She must have been crazy, because right before Neji left, she could have sworn he smiled at Tenten. She sat back on the floor along with the other girls and noticed that Tenten had turned as red as a tomato. There was no need to answer the question now. "Nay Neji-Nisan?" Hinata yelled astounded. "Hinata-sama." Tenten gave a short jump when they heard Neji's voice calling from the other side of the door. "Is everything okay?" "Why yes, sorry," she called out. She waited until they heard the sound of Neji's bedroom door closing, then turned to face Tenten. "You like Neji-Nisan?" "Shush." Tenten waved her arms up and down. "He will hear you. Is he the one you like?" Sadako asked. "Ah." Tenten pulled at her brown hair like a crazy person. "You weren't supposed to know it Hinata. I won't tell him." Hinata swore. "But please, stop pulling your hair. You'll hurt yourself." "Now the dare." Sakura chanted. "I dare you to go to Neji's room and ask him to lend you." "I don't know, a pair of socks." Ino said. "Socks? What kind of stupid dare is that?" Sakura complained. "Okay." Tenten walked towards Neji's room and knocked on the door. "Yes?" Neji asked, coming out of his room. "Neji," Tenten said cutely, "would you please lend me a pair of socks?" "Sure," Neji said, without even bothering to ask why. "Here you go." "Thank you." She leaned closer to him and kissed his cheek. "Good night." Good night." Neji looked confused. "Easy," Tenten said, waving the pair of socks in front of the girls. "We're on the same team, remember? He always lends me his clothes." "Awesome." Ino cheered. The rest of the girls agreed. "Sadako, you're next. Who do you like?" Sakura asked, shoving a handful of chips into her mouth. "Hey, how come I get the same question as Tenten-san?" Sadako complained. "It doesn't matter," Ino said, gulping on a can of grape soda. "Just answer the question." "Well, I'm not sure, but..." Sadako was lost in thought for a second. When she finally spoke up, her cheeks were slightly pink. I think I like Gaara-sama." "Say what?" A dark silhouette appeared on the window. "Oni-san." Sadako jumped to her feet, a look of shame on her charcoal black eyes. "What are you doing here?" It took the girls a few seconds to realize that the dark silhouette was actually Sasuke. He stepped inside the room, anger was written on his face. He grasped Sadako's left hand and pulled her harshly towards the window. "Move, we're out of here," he commanded. The door burst open and Neji ran inside. He stood in front of Hinata, trying to protect her. "What are you doing here Uchiha?" he demanded. "If Hiashi-sama finds you here, you're death." "Don't worry, I'm only here for my sister," Sasuke answered. "In fact, we were about to leave." "I don't want to," Sadako begged. "I said move," Sasuke ordered. He jumped out of the window, dragging Sadako with him. "Hinata-sama, are you okay?" Neji asked, kneeling next to her. "Yes." Hinata stared at the place where Sadako had been standing. "I'm only worried about them." Sasuke ran like a maniac through the dark streets of Konoha, dragging his sister with him. Sadako stumbled behind him, trying to keep up with him. Sasuke had given her no time to put on her shoes. Now she ran down a stony path wearing only her black socks to protect her feet. "Oni-san, wait," she sobbed. "What did I do? Why are you so mad at me?" He stopped suddenly, making her bump on him. "Don't you know?" he shot. "Why did you say that?" "What?" She couldn't understand why Sasuke was so angry at her. "I like Gaara-sama." Sasuke mocked her. "You can't be serious. You can't like him. I know you told me to stay away from him. I know you warned me." "I'm sorry I disobeyed you." She apologized. "But please, you must listen. Gaara-sama is not, that's not the reason." He spat. "Then why? Why can't I like him?" "You can't like him." He shook her by the shoulders. "You can't love him because you only love me." Sadako blinked confused. That was the only reason for Sasuke to be so mad at her? Jealousy? "But, Oni-san, I do love you." She buried her face on his chest. "You know how much I love you. Then say it." He wrapped his arms around her. "Tell me you don't like him, that you only love me." Sadako pulled away from him. "It's not what you think, it's a different kind of love." She explained. "How can I not like him? He's been alone for so long. I can see it in his eyes, he really needs someone to love him." "And what do you know about loneliness?" Sasuke yelled at her. "I've been alone too. You'll never understand what it feels like. You think I had it easy on me?" She couldn't believe Sasuke was talking like this. "You have no idea how much I've suffered." Sasuke seemed to remember what they had been through when they were little. Let's just go back home. He tried to hug her, but she pulled away. No, I won't go anywhere until you calm down. I said let's go. He pulled at her arm but she slapped his hand away. Sadako, that's an order. You can't tell me what to do. It hurt to say those things, but Sasuke was acting like a psycho. I can think and act by myself. As you wish, Sasuke said before dashing angrily away. Sadako felt her heart break in two. Sasuke and her had never fought before, never. She felt tears burning on her eyes, but refused to cry them out. She couldn't completely understand why she liked Gaara. Why hadn't she told Sasuke that she only loved him? Why did she stubbornly insisted on going against Sasuke's will by telling him she loved Gaara too? But more than anything, why couldn't her brother understand that there are different kinds of love? Sadako let out a scream. She screamed so hard, it made her throat hurt. She screamed out of anger, out of frustration, out of confusion, because she couldn't understand what had just happened. Out of pride, because she'd rather scream than let her tears flow. She balled her right hand into a fist and hit a nearby tree with all her might. Crack! The tree snapped in tow and crashed down with a ground-shaking sound. She was glad there was no one around to hear it. Sadako-san? She heard Hinata's voice behind her. Are you okay? She turned around and found Hinata and Tenten standing there. Behind them stood Sakura and Ino, they all held worried looks on their faces. Yeah, I'm fine. Here, Ino handed her shoes. You forgot them. Thank you. Sorry I asked that question. Sakura apologized. I didn't know. Sasuke-kun? It's okay. Sadako smiled. It's his fault for breaking into Hinata-sama's house and listening to our conversation. Why don't you come back with us? Hinata asked. Father doesn't know what happened. Neji-Nisan didn't told him. Sadako nodded. She looked around and noticed that the girls had changed back into their normal clothes, while she was still wearing her dark blue pajama. We brought your clothes. Tenten handed her sweater. Arigato. Let's go. Hinata whispered softly, holding Sadako's hand. It's getting cold out here. How did you find me? Sadako asked as they walked towards the Hyuga compound. We were worried about you. Hinata explained. So Hina-chan used her Byakugan to track you down. Sakura continued. And if you're wondering why, Ino added, it's because good friends never leave their friends behind. Tenten finished. Good friends. Sadako smiled to herself. She was still sad for what had happened with Sasuke, but her new friends were making her feel better. Gaara sat at the river's edge, he stared blankly at the rushing water. Gaara-sama. He heard Sadako's voice behind him. What are you doing here? Gaara smiled to himself, he just knew she would come here. I was waiting for you. He stood up and got closer to Sadako. I need to tell you something. His heart began to beat faster than ever. His cheeks were on fire and his whole body was shaking. But he was going to tell her, he had to tell her. What is it? Sadako asked. She felt nervous too, and the fact that Gaara's sand was swirling around them only made it worse. You? He walked even closer. What does love feel like? He was really close now. She tried to take a step back, but her legs wouldn't obey. As Gaara leaned closer, she looked up and sank into oblivion in his mint-green eyes. Gaara leaned closer and kissed her softly, the first kiss for both of them. Sand swirled furiously around them, as if it reflected their emotions. And for a few seconds that felt like an eternity, there was no past, there was no future. Only the two of them existed on this world. There was no pain and no loneliness, just love and the faint smell of cinnamon. Get away from her, Sasuke yelled from a top branch. 10. Oh, crap. Oni-san. Sadako pulled away from Gaara, who pierced Sasuke with a death glare. I told you to get away from her. Sasuke threw a kunai at his direction. Sadako reached out and caught the kunai before it hit. At that same moment, a wall of sand rose up to protect Gaara, crushing Sadako's arm on the way. Sadako gasped. Crack. A snapping sound echoed through the trees. Oni-san. Sasuke was horrified. Sadako. Gaara's eyes went wide. Sadako gasped and pulled her arm away. The sleeve of her dark blue sweater was reduced to shreds, so she quickly tried to hide her arm. Look what you've done. Sasuke yelled at Gaara as he ran past him to help his sister. Guilt felt heavy on his shoulders. If only he'd apologized to her. If only he'd listened to her. If only he wasn't so impulsive. If only he hadn't thrown that kunai, none of this would have happened. But it was also Gaara's fault. Gaara's whole body felt numb, guilt was crushing his entire being. Shukaku had made the sad wall to protect them. He was trying to protect her more than anything. But now she was hurt, and it was his fault. He knew more than anyone how strong the sand was, and it was a real miracle that the impact hadn't shred her arm off. But Sasuke was guilty as well. Gaara looked down and found something odd. The sand had crushed her arm, so the ground should have been tainted with blood. But Sadako wasn't bleeding. Oni-san, are you? Sasuke stopped on mid-sentence and stared in horror at Sadako's right arm. The sleeve was torn apart, so he could see it clearly. Her right arm, from the tip of her fingers, all the way up to her shoulder, was smooth and transparent. It was made of ice. Sadako fell on her knees and held her arm close to her chest, trying to hide it from those who stared at it in dismay. She wanted to run as far away from that place as her legs could take her, but her limbs were numb and would not move. "Don't look," she said in a tiny voice. "Please, go away." "What happened?" Sasuke asked. He kneeled down and cradled her on his arms. She hid her face and clung to him the way she used to when they were little children. "Who did this to you?" Gaara stepped closer, concern visible on his green eyes. For a moment, the two boys seemed to forget how much they hated each other. "Please, tell us," Sasuke whispered into her ear. Sadako shook her head. "Just ignore it," she spoke softly. "I'm fine. It's been like this even before I came back." Before I came back. Her words echoed inside Sasuke's scrambled head. How could he have not noticed? After all, he was always holding her hand. Always holding her left hand. Damn it to hell, he scolded to himself. "Sasuke, you idiot, why didn't you notice it before?" Now everything made sense. The reason why Sadako wore that thick sweater even when it was hot and damp outside. The reason why she slept in a dark long-sleeved pajama and wore thick black gloves even when she was sleeping. That's why she kept staring at her arm every time he asked her about her past. Her right arm was made of ice. That's how she defeated Haruno. Sakura must have seen it that time, and that's why they had been acting so strange lately. "Sorry Oni-san, but I can't just ignore it," Sasuke told her. "I've been blind enough not to notice it before. Now I really need to know what happened." Sadako looked away from him. "Please, tell us," Gaara said softly. "Perhaps we can help you." Sadako pulled away from Sasuke and sat up straight. She pushed her raven black hair away from her eyes and her face turned ice cold, as if she felt no emotion at all. Even so, they all knew she was just pretending to be alright. "Do you really want to know?" she asked softly. "Where am I?" 5-year-old Sadako asked herself. "Where am I?" She remembered 2 hands escorting her out of Sasuke's room and away from the Uchiha compound. She remembered Sasuke begging her to stay, and she remembered falling asleep a while ago. Now she sat alone, wondering where she was and where they were taking her. The bandages covering her eyes blocked her sight, so she couldn't see anything that wasn't total darkness. And even if she was able to, she wouldn't have opened her eyes, afraid of what might be in front of her. There was a rocking motion and the sound of rushing water, along with the powerful smell of salt. She heard the sound of a nearby door opening and the sound of footsteps approaching. Sadako cowered against the wall. Whoever it was clearly not friendly. She was sure of it. "What's the matter?" a kind feminine voice asked. "Don't tell me you're afraid of me." She felt a hand touching the bandages on her eyes and winced. "It's okay," the voice soothed. "I just want to take a look." She carefully unwrapped Sadako's bandages. Sadako blinked numerous times. The sun coming from the windows burned her eyes. At least it wasn't dark. She looked up and found a young-looking woman smiling kindly at her. The woman had white hair with locks of blue tied on a bun at the back of her head. Locks of blue hair fell softly at the sides of her face. Sadako was mesmerized by her shocking blue cat-like eyes. She was about 20, but despite her age, she looked strong and confident. The same confidence she admired so much on Itachi. "How are your eyes feeling?" Sadako had almost forgotten the pain. Her eyes always hurt, but today it wasn't that bad. Or at least, they weren't bleeding. "Are you feeling okay?" Sadako nodded. "Good. My name's Cory." She introduced herself. "And you're R?" Sadako didn't answer. She'd never talked to no one who wasn't Sasuke, no one. So she didn't told Cory her name, even though she knew it was a mean thing to do. "Can you speak?" Sadako nodded. Good, then this won't be so complicated. Are you hungry? Sadako nodded. Cory left and came back carrying a plate of smoked fish. Sorry if it's not so good. She placed the dish on front of Sadako. We don't have many food choices in here. A.N. They were on the sea, by the way. Sadako ate without a word, but then the pain in her eyes grew. Drops of blood splashed on the ground. Oh my, are you okay? Cory put the bandages back around Sadako's eyes. Better? Sadako nodded. There, you'll be alright. Cory soothed, running her hand down Sadako's hair the way Sasuke used to. Rest now, we'll begin training tomorrow. Sadako had expected the next days to be the worst, but it wasn't like that. Of course, the training was hard. Every day, Cory would take off her bandages and tell her to push back the Sharingan. And every day, Sadako would end up twisting on the ground and shrieking in pain. For the first 2 weeks, there was no progress at all. Sadako was useless, and she knew it. But despite all of this, Cory still believed in her, she still thought she could do it. Cory-sensei didn't look down at her like father did, or called her names like everyone else. She was so nice at her. Not the kind of person who would kick her and call her useless when she was twisting in pain, but the kind of person who would heal her wounds and comfort her, and then encourage her to keep trying. And no matter how bad the training's result was, she always said, "Good job, my little doll." She didn't know Sadako's name, so he called her that, my little doll. Sadako could still remember Cory's smiling face when, after a month of training, she had finally talked to her. They were sitting on the far side of the ship that was supposed to take them to the land of snow, when Cory spoke up. "Ah, the sea is so beautiful." She sighed, then frowned. "Too bad I've been seeing this goddamn sea for a whole year, and now it's going to be 2. It had taken her a whole year to travel from the land of snow to Konoha, and it was going to take both of them another year to go back. Sadako shrank at Cory's harsh words. "Don't do that, it's not your fault." She laughed. "I traveled to Konoha because I wanted to help you, not because your family asked me to." She held Sadako next to her and kissed her forehead. Mother had never been kind at her, never. But Sadako thought that, however it felt like to have a loving mother, could not be better than this. "You're very important to me." Cory whispered. "Am I important to you?" Sadako clung to Cory's black sweater and gathered all her courage. "Hi, Cory-sensei," she whispered softly. "OMG." She jumped suddenly to her feet. "You talked." Cory picked Sadako up and spun around with the 5-year-old on her arms. "She spoke. She spoke." Sensei cheered at the edge of tears. "My little doll spoke." Soon, all the sailors in the ship gathered and began to laugh too. "She spoke, she spoke." They all cheered in unison. Sadako had never felt this happy before. For the first time in her life, she forgot about her fear towards people and laughed her heart out as Cory threw her in the air. There were so many people who cared about her. So many people. Sadako shrieked and twisted on the floor. "Come on Sadako, don't give up." Cory encouraged her. "You can do it." "I see can't." Sadako wiped blood away from her eyes. "Don't give me that. You can do it, you know you can." "It hurts." "Your eyes can't control you because you control them. Push the Sharingan back, I know you can do it." Sadako's head was suddenly filled with known voices. "You can't do anything, you stupid brat." Father's voice came to her ears. "You really are the Uchiha's shame. What did I do wrong? Why was I cursed with a daughter like you?" She heard mother's sobs. "Why were you ever born? Why can't you just die? Useless. Pathetic. Worthless. Shameful. Onee-san." Sasuke's voice echoed even harder than the others. That's when she realized that no matter how many people hated her, it was those who loved her that really mattered. "I can?" she whispered. Slowly, she tried to stand up. Her legs were shaking and her whole body was numb. All she could feel was the throbbing pain coming from her eyes, but she refused to fall again. "I can." She clenched her fists. "I can do it." Sadako's eyes shot open. She focused all her energy on her eyes. Not on the horrible pain coming from them. Not on the persons watching her, not on Cory-sensei. She focused on pushing back the cursed eyes. Cory-sensei gasped as Sadako's eyes flickered from blood red, to charcoal black, and back to red. "I can." Crystal white chakras swirled around Sadako's feet, forming ice-like embers while her eyes flickered red and black like Christmas lights. Suddenly, Sadako's eyes turned dark and the chakra disappeared. Sadako fainted. "Sadako. Sadako-chan?" She woke up. Cory was sitting next to her with a worried look on her face. "I failed again?" Sadako mumbled. Tears streamed uncontrollably down her face. "I really am the Uchiha's shame." "What? No, take a look." Cory-sensei held a mirror before Sadako's face. She looked at her reflection and gasped. Eyes as black as the night sky returned her stare. "You did it, my little doll. I'm so proud of you." Pride, to Sadako, who had always been ashamed of herself, pride was an unknown word. The rest of the training was easy. It took Sadako only 2 days to activate the Sharingan at will and about 5 days to learn how to use it. Cory-sensei was proud of her. Sadako was a great student. There was no jutsu she couldn't learn or copy, no genjutsu she couldn't break, and no technique she couldn't master. Yes, she was Cory's pride and joy. Sadako was 6 years old when they finally arrived at the land of snow. It was so cold she felt like her bones will break, but thanks to Cory's ability as a tailor, she had a lot of thick jackets and gloves to wear. Even so, 32 Bello was a really low temperature. She never really got used to it. At the age of 14, Sadako was known as one of the strongest kunoichi on the region. She even surpassed Cory-sensei. Despite the cold, Sadako was happy living in there. There was no mission she couldn't complete with success, no enemy she couldn't kill without hesitation. She was no longer the reject of a legendary clan. She was a legend herself. But it didn't last for long. "Sadako, get up." Cory-sensei woke her up in the middle of the night. "We're under attack." Both kunoichi ran outside. The entire village was on flames and the local shinobi were fighting against some foreign ninja. Sadako sprang into action. 5 ninja surrounded her. They wore headbands with musical notes carved on them. Sound ninja. Sadako realized. She pulled 5 kunai out of her pouch and with a swift movement of her hand, all ninja dropped dead. She had thrown the kunai with such force that they had gone through the sound ninja's headbands. They didn't expect that from a little girl. More ninja blocked her path as she tried to follow Cory-sensei. It was no problem for her. With a few hand signs and a jutsu, the enemy was frozen in place. Sub-Zero Jutsu. They all turned to ice statues. Well, she heard a cocky voice behind her. "Let me guess, you're an Uchiha." "What?" She turned around and found a blue-haired man staring at her. "I recognize your eyes." He smiled. "You're a survivor from that clan, aren't you?" "What do you mean survivor? There's a whole clan in Konoha." Sadako angrily tried to hit him, but he dodged her fist. "Don't you know what happened to that clan?" He dodged another fist. "They were whipped out about 7 years ago." "Liar." She tried to kick him, but he dodged that as well. "You know what's funny about this? They say that the person who annihilated them was a member of the same clan." He grinned. "Uchiha Itachi, I think that was his name." Sadako dropped her guard for just a second, but that was enough. The blue-haired man kicked her hard on the stomach. She flew backwards and crashed against a pile of snow. "Sadako." Cory appeared out of nowhere and stood between her and the strange man. She was trying to protect Sadako, but it was obvious that she was exhausted and out of chakra. "Don't you dare touch her again." They both fought, but the man was stronger than they were. With a single blow, Cory-sensei was on her knees gasping for air and Sadako was almost unconscious. He did various hand signs and aimed at Cory with a strange jutsu that Sadako had no time to copy. "Sensei." Cory was unable to move, so Sadako pushed her out of harm's way. Cory was safe, but the attack had reached her right hand, turning it to ice. Sadako gasped, but she could still move the transparent hand. It wasn't that bad, was it? She stood up on shaking legs. They were not going to lose against him. "Retreat! Retreat!" One of the sound ninja called out. The remaining ninja, along with the one who was fighting Sadako, turned towards the snow-topped mountains and began to run away. "Oh, no you don't." She ran behind him. He was not getting away. "It's not me you should worry about." He pointed at something behind her. Sadako turned to look and was horrified by what she saw. There, laying on the snow, was Cory-sensei. She had about 10 kunai knives stuck on her Che-3 street. The snow around her was turning red. Sadako no longer cared about the blue-haired man. "Sensei." Sadako ran as fast as her legs could take her. When she reached the spot, Cory smiled at her. "Wait here, Sensei. I'll get the medic ninja and—" "No." Cory coughed, choking on her own blood. "Please, don't." "But, sorry Sadako, I'm afraid it's over for me." "Don't say that." Sadako's voice cracked. You'll get better, I know it. Sadako, look at me. Sadako stared in horror at her sensei. Her left leg had been cut off and blood came out in rivers from the stump that was left. The remains of her leg laid a few meters away. There's no medic that can heal me now. Then, what can I do? She was trying her best not to cry. Kill me. No, I can't do that. I won't. Please, can't you see I'm suffering? She pulled a kunai from her chest and handed it to Sadako. You have to, that's an order. Sadako stared at the kunai in her hand. A good kunoichi never shows her emotions. Cory reminded her, you're a kunoichi of snow, just like me. Cold blood runs trough your veins, doesn't it? Do tea. Sadako lifted the kunai on the air, then, for the first time in 8 years, she hesitated. What am I going to do without you? She asked. Listen, before we came back, I hid a transferring scroll somewhere. There's another one in the ship that brought us here 8 years ago. Find it, do exactly as it says and it will instantly take you to the land of waves. She was forced to stop and cough again. Go back to Konoha and show them how much you've grown. Stay there and don't ever come back here. Understand? Sadako nodded. I'm sorry sensei. She had to do it, there was no way out of it. Goodbye my little doll, she smiled. Down came the kunai. Impact. Sadako's face was splashed with blood. She cried, but her tears froze on her cheeks. That's when she decided, she will never cry again. Cory had called her a kunoichi of snow, but she would have changed her mind if she'd seen Sadako's hand. Every time she used a jutsu, every time she fought, every single day she existed, the curse on her hand spread like a disease. And now, it had taken over her whole arm. It was heavier every day and Sadako knew deep inside her, that it would someday be the reason of her death. She was slowly turning to an ice statue. Turning into a kunoichi of ice, literally. Gaara stared at her open-mouthed while Sasuke had tears in his eyes. He had spent his entire life complaining on how much he'd suffered. He even dared to think Sadako's life was easier, but now he knew the truth. He hugged Sadako as hard as he could and was unable to keep his vice from cracking. I'm sorry Oni-san, I was such an idiot. I'm so sorry, he sobbed. Would you ever forgive me? Sadako hugged him back. There was no need for an answer. Are you sure Oni-san? Sasuke asked. You can sleep with me, really. After the incident in the forest, Sadako had agreed to go back with Sasuke. Everything seemed normal again, but when the time to sleep came, Sadako refused to sleep next to Sasuke like she always did. Instead, she insisted on staying in the living room. Of course, Sasuke could not allow her to do that. He couldn't let his sister sleep downstairs, on the hard living room floor. And the worst part of it all is that she'll be away from him. It was just a few meters away, but to him, it seemed like such a long way. It's okay, Sadako answered. I'll be fine. But why? Are you still mad at me? Sasuke asked concerned. It's not that. Sadako looked away. It's just, I don't think we should keep sleeping together. It's weird. No, it isn't. He pulled at her sleeve like a little child begging for candy. Please, sleep with me. Please. It's kind of childish, don't you think? No, it's not, he said, sounding rather childish. Why do you say that? We've slept together ever since we were 3 years old. That's the problem Oni-san. She said coldly. We're no longer little children. Sasuke tried to say something else, but Sadako's serious face told him that was enough. There was no way to change her decision, and he knew it. He looked at her and remembered the frail little girl she used to be. The one that needed his help and could not stand on her own. The one he loved more than anyone and anything. The girl who only loved him. But things had changed now. She was so strong, so brave, so confident. She'd done all this without him, she no longer needed him. Why should Sadako listen to him? After all, he'd done nothing more than treat her like a worthless little kid and feel like a hero for that. And even if she also loved Gaara now, there was still place in her heart for Sasuke. A heart so big that was able to forgive him even though he'd treated her worse than a stray dog. He remembered the night they fought. I can think by myself. Her words echoed on his head, and he knew she was right. Sasuke had never stopped to think that maybe Sadako didn't like most of the things they ate or the games they played, but he figured it was okay because she never complained. He always took decisions for the two of them, and it never crossed his head that Sadako was now able to take her own decisions. She no longer needed him to take her hand and lead her through the house. She no longer asked him to tell others what she wanted to say. She was her own now. He felt ashamed for acting so foolish. It seemed like all he'd done lately was mess up everything. So to stop the argument they were having, he thought of only one thing. I know. He laughed. I was just kidding. If you want to sleep here, it's okay. Really? Sadako's face brightened. Yeah, just make sure the doors are locked and be careful. He smiled. Cats like to sneak inside at midnight and eat the leftovers. Hi, I'll be careful. Good night, then. He lifted her face and kissed his forehead. Good night, Oni-san. She kissed his right cheek. Next morning, when Sadako woke up, she was still laying on the living room floor, but there was something different. Sasuke's arm was wrapped around her shoulders, while the black-haired boy slept soundly next to her. Oni-san, she yelled, pushing Sasuke aside. What are you doing here? Sasuke was startled awake. What am I doing here? He asked, rubbing his sleepy eyes. I live here. I mean, what are you doing sleeping on the living room? How should I know? He looked around confused. I can't even remember how I got here. So you're sleepwalking now? Sadako asked skeptically. Perhaps. He smiled playfully. Well, that's better than you sleep-talking at midnight. What do you mean? I don't do that. Yes you do. She smiled an evil smile. You did that just 3 nights ago. Really? And what did I say? He challenged. You said, Hinata, Hinata. Why don't you love me, Hinata? Naruto is a baka. I love you more than he does. She laughed. What the, did I really say that? Sadako smiled and nodded. Don't tell her, Oni-san. If you tell her I'll die out of shame. He turned bright red. Please, come on, you know I wouldn't do that. She laughed. But you must admit, they do make a cute couple. Yeah, Sasuke said heavily. That's the worst part of it. 2 shadows stood in the forest outside of Konoha, just a few meters away from the village's gate. Konoha? One of them said in disgust. After all this years I can't believe I'm back to this shameful place. Well, it is your home after all. The other one chuckled. A soft breeze blew, rocking the wind chimes that hung from the hats they were wearing. The sound of faint music filled the air. Are you sure she's in here? The second shadow asked. The wind blew through their black cloaks. There were red clouds painted on them. Yeah, I've heard. He took a step forward. Great, time for fun. The second shadow grabbed the handle of an oversized sword tied on his back. You better not kill anyone. The first shadow warned. No one has to know we're here. We have to be careful. A fight is the last thing we want. We just came here to see her. Yeah, she's all that matters, I get the point. Otherwise, I'll enjoy killing 1 or 2 of this worthless village's shinobi. I would let them know Akatsuki was here. So, can I kill at least one of them? Shut up and move, the first one said coldly. We don't have time to waste. You know that, Kisame. So, where are we going, Oni-san? Sadako asked Sasuke. All that Sasuke had told her when they left the Uchiha compound was that they were going to take a walk somewhere. I don't know, Oni-san, Sasuke smiled. Where do you want to go? Sadako thought for a moment. How about the forest of Konoha? I like that place. The forest of Konoha it is. Sasuke agreed. When the Uchiha twins reached the forest, they noticed there was something different about it. The air felt heavy and the singing of birds could not be heard. Even the rushing water of the river made no sound on their ears. Sasuke stood behind Sadako and leaned his head on her shoulder so that he could whisper on her ear without being noticed. Stay close to me, he whispered. Sadako nodded as the word, genjutsu, formed in her lips. Both Sasuke and Sadako put their hands together to form a ninja sign. Release, they said in unison. When the genjutsu faded, the twins found 2 persons standing before them. They were dressed in black cloaks with red clouds painted on them. Sadako looked at one of them. He was a blue man with a shark-like face and sharp teeth. A giant sword wrapped on bandages hung from his back. She had no idea who he was or what he wanted, but she did recognize the other one. After all this years, and even though she'd only seen him a few times in the past, she could have recognized him anywhere. At the sight of them, Sasuke immediately ran in front of Sadako to protect her. Itachi. Sasuke growled wrathfully. Sasuke, he said coldly. You bastard. Sasuke quickly pulled out a kunai and ran towards Itachi, but he was too slow. Before he could even react, Itachi buried his fist on Sasuke's stomach, knocking the air out of him. With a loud thud, Sasuke landed on the ground. He was shrinking in pain and gasping for breath. Oni-san. Sadako took a step towards Sasuke. Stay back, he coughed out. Sadako obeyed him. I don't want to fight with you. We're only here for her. He pointed his finger at Sadako. Don't you dare? Sasuke tightened his grip on the kunai knife and tried to stand up. As you wish. Itachi stared directly into his eyes. Sasuke saw his own fearful face reflected on Itachi's Mangenkyu Sharingan and knew what was coming. 72 hours that for all humanity would just be a second, watching the slaughter of his entire clan again and again. Yes, he knew what was coming. He'd seen it before. But that didn't happen, because with an incredible speed, someone ran between Itachi and him. It was Sadako. Sasuke was more than surprised when Sadako's eyes turned as red as Itachi's. Mangenkyu, Sasuke muttered as Sadako's stare clashed against Itachi's. Apparently, Itachi was surprised too, because the instant Sadako's eyes transformed, he dropped his guard for just a fraction of a second. Even though it was such a small amount of time, it was enough for her. The air began to chill and a strong blizzard pushed him back. In less time than he could realize, everything, including him, was covered in snow. The white flakes piled around him faster than he could push them back. He tried to run, but his feet were frozen in place. The snow was already up zero to his neck and his entire body was numb. He knew what Sadako was planning. She was going to bury him under a mountain of snow. Itachi gathered all the strength he had left and began forming hand signs with his numb fingers. The genjutsu disappeared and he found Sadako standing before him, still trying to protect Sasuke, still staring at him with her own Mangenkyu. He didn't want to hurt her, but it was obvious that she was not going to stop fighting, not as long as she was doing it for Sasuke. Sasuke tried once again to stand up, but his limbs failed him and the pain on his stomach just sent him back on his knees. There was nothing he could do but to observe as his siblings fought with the strongest weapon they had, their eyes. Both Sadako and Itachi began to slide on the floor without them wanting to. It wasn't that they were moving, they were being pushed back by the sole power of their eyes. Sasuke stared at Kisame. He was just standing behind Itachi with a pissed look on his face. But then he disappeared and reappeared behind Sadako. With a single blow, his sister fell unconscious. Kisame, you idiot, Itachi shouted. Why did you do that? This was never going to end. Kisame complained as he swung Sadako over his shoulder. Don't carry her like a sack of potatoes. Itachi demanded. Sorry, Your Majesty. He took her in his arm and carried her bride style. Is that better? Itachi nodded. A kunai went flying towards Kisame, who had barely enough time to avoid it. He dodged it, but it made a scratch on his left cheek. Blood dripped out of the wound. They both turned to look at Sasuke, who was still laying on his knees with an angry look on his face. Let her go, he shouted, staring at the limp form of his sister. So, what do we do with him? Kisame frowned. Don't worry. Itachi suddenly disappeared. Sasuke felt a hard hit on the back of his neck and everything became complete darkness to him. Sadako woke up half an hour later. Her feet were tied together as well as her hands. She looked around and realized she was no longer in Konoha. But how was this possible? How could she lose like this? How could Sasuke be defeated so easily? Sadako tried to use her ninja skills to untie the ropes, but soon realized there was chakra on them. The more she pulled, the tighter they got. Stop squirming. The shark-faced man appeared out of nowhere and smiled at her with his hideous saw-like teeth. Itachi will be back any minute to untie you. Let me go, you fish-faced bastard. She'd learned that word from Sasuke, although she had no idea what it meant. The blue man frowned. Didn't I just say Itachi will untie you when he comes back? He shouted angrily. And where the heck did you learn to speak like that? Your brother will be mad if he hears you. What do you mean? It was my brother Sasuke who taught me that word. I meant Itachi. He's not my brother. She shrieked. Come on. You look every bit like him. He kneeled down and lifted her face to get a better look. If I had known all Uchiha girls were this pretty, I would have asked Itachi not to kill them all. She wanted to punch and kick him, but she was tied up. She wanted to bite him, but he was too far away. So she did the only thing that was possible. She stared at the shark man and spit on his hideous face. Ah! He jumped back, whipping spit from his face. That's so disgusting. Don't you ever touch me again, you stupid fish. She knew it was nasty, so spit on him, but it was the only thing she could think of. You little brat. He lifted his sword and was about to hit her with it, when… Kisame! Itachi called from the top branch of a nearby tree. Put that down. But, Itachi looked at him with this feared Sharingan. Fine, coward. Sadako muttered. Kisame fixed her with a death glare. Itachi jumped to the floor and kneeled before her so they were facing each other. Careful, she might spit on you. Kisame warned. Sadako tried to activate her Mangenkyu. What the? She was surprised when her eyes would not obey. I blocked your chakra flow. Itachi explained. Don't look so surprised. Did you really think I would let you use those eyes again? She wanted to spit at him so badly. What do you want from me? She asked. Nothing, he said softly, running his hand down her black hair. I just wanted to see you. She must have been crazy, because behind his expressionless voice, Itachi seemed to have a glint of nostalgia. Itachi laid his forehead on top of her head. I've missed my little sister so much. His voice was still cold, but just a little bit sad. You're not my brother, she said in disgust. You killed our clan, you hurt my brother. I hate you. I could never forgive what you did. Itachi stared at her blankly. But, Sad-chan, don't call me that, she spat. That's how Itachi used to call her, because she always looked sad. The only reason we came is because I wanted to see you. He said softly. I thought you were death, and then suddenly, they tell me you are back in Konoha. What was I supposed to do? Well, kidnapping me wasn't the best thing to do. She said annoyed. She's right dude. Kisame agreed. Both Uchiha stared angrily at him. I'll just, kind of, shut up now. He said. Perfect. Sadako sneered. Listen, I don't know what Sasuke told you, but the reason I killed all members of our clan was because of you. Me? And what do I have to do with it? Those bastards, acting so mean to a poor little girl. He said angrily. Always mistreating you. Always looking at you over their shoulder, as if they were superior. They deserved everything that happened to them, everything. If they wouldn't help a member of their own clan, then I decided there should be no clan at all. But, Sasuke, what about him? She asked. He's alive, isn't he? It was never my intention to hurt him. I thought he had the same idea as I did, but now I know I was wrong. The only reason I hit him today was because he wouldn't step aside. I warned him I didn't want to fight. Sadako's heart was being crushed into tiny pieces. She knew Itachi was evil, but still, the moment he'd appeared before them on the woods, she couldn't help but to feel a glint of happiness. So many years without seeing him, and suddenly, he was there. She hated him for hurting Sasuke, and even if the Uchiha clan meant nothing to her, it did hurt Sasuke too. But she couldn't hate him, not completely. She remembered the times when he played with her and took care of her. Because mother hated Sadako, Itachi had even combed her hair a couple of times, not that he'll ever admit it. She loved him because he was her brother. And there was no way to deny it. But killing the whole clan was sick. She could no longer trust him as she did before, she could read it in his eyes. Sadako looked around. Where was Sasuke? Why hadn't he come to rescue her yet? Sadako really hoped they hadn't hurt him, or worse. Please, get away, stay away from me, she said on a small voice, trying to hold back the tears she swore to never shed. Itachi did as she told him. With a hurt look on his face, he stood up and walked away. Kisame, untie her, he ordered, but Kisame objected. Now, fine, Kisame sighed. Do you really do all he says? Sadako asked him as he untied the ropes. Sometimes. Sadako stared at him. Okay, so most of the time. It's not that I can't take decisions for myself, I just don't want my brain turned to mush with his genjutsu. Sounds fair. As soon as she was free, Sadako looked around to see if Itachi was near. He wasn't, so she tried to run, but Kisame was ridiculously fast and caught her right arm even before she could move an inch. And just where do you think you're going? He grinned in triumph while shaking her violently. Let me go. Hey, what's going on? Itachi appeared from behind a tree. She could have kicked Kisame and tried to run, but there was no way she could really escape from them. Being as tricky as she could, she did the only thing that crossed her head at that moment. I'm sorry. I wasn't running away, I just wanted to talk to Itachi, she sobbed. Please let go of my arm, you're hurting me. Release her. Itachi ordered, a look of concern on his face. Kisame had that, I know what you're trying, look on his face, but he still did as he was told. Well, actually, he tossed her aside like a used-up rag doll. Itachi took a step forward, but remembering Sadako's words, he stayed where he was. Are you okay? he asked concerned. Sadako stood up. Now what? There had to be a way to fool Itachi at least long enough for Sasuke to come save her. She rubbed her right arm, although it had been almost a year since she last felt anything on that place. Tears ran down her face. Fake tears, but she hoped Itachi wouldn't notice. What's wrong, Imuto? Itachi stared at her confused. Are you hurt? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk to you that way. She sobbed. I've missed you so much. She walked slowly to Itachi, making sure that he wouldn't hit her or anything. When she was just 3 steps away from him, Itachi stepped forward and hugged her tightly. Sadako buried her face on his black cloak and sobbed inconsolably, trying desperately to sound as real as possible. If Itachi noticed she was faking, she would be in real trouble. But he didn't notice, he just held her close, feeling happy for the first time in so many years. He ran his hand down her hair the way he used to when she was a helpless little girl. He was so glad to see her again, so glad he could finally hear her voice, so glad she was so strong, so glad she was his sister. It's okay, Sad-chan. Oni-san is here, he soothed. I would never let anyone hurt you, never. Sadako's heart hurt even more now. It hurt to lie to him, but what else could she do? Naruto was on his favorite spot in all Konoha, Ichiraku Ramen. Ayame-chan, the waitress, set a bowl of steaming hot ramen on front of him. Itadakimasu. Naruto cheered. He lifted his chopsticks and was about to take the first taste of his food, when he heard Sasuke's voice calling him. Naruto. Sasuke was running towards him like a maniac. His eyes were frantic and he was almost out of breath when he reached the ramen stand. What is it? Naruto asked through a mouthful of ramen. Come with me. Sasuke tugged at his arm, almost making him fall from the chair he was sitting on. I need your help. Hey, calm down, Naruto said angrily, sitting straight again. What the hell do you want? Itachi. He gasped. Itachi's back and he took Sadako with him. That bastard has my sister. Say what? Naruto's eyes went wide. We have to go rescue her. What are you still doing in here? I'm trying to get your help, Baka. Well, if you're so great, then what do you need my help for? Forget it, I'll do it myself. Sasuke yelled desperately. Wait, you know I never say no to a mission. Naruto grinned. Sasuke just wanted to beat his stupid grin off. Naruto lifted the ramen bowl over his head and gulped the whole thing into his mouth. In less than 2 seconds, he had drained the bowl. He set the plate down and turned to Sasuke. Let's go. He jumped off the chair and ran down the street. Finally, Sasuke ran behind him. Kisame jumped furiously from branch to branch. How was it possible that he, the great Kisame, one of the sword masters, had been reduced to this? He carried a cup of vanilla ice cream on his hands. That stupid brat had been crying the whole day and would not allow them to move from the place they were at. Then, Itachi had to ask. Is there anything I can do to make you feel better, Imuto? And then that stupid brat had to ask for vanilla ice cream. The nearest village was about 5 miles ago, but Itachi could not go get it himself. No, he had so many things to talk about with his stupid sister. So it was Kisame who had to run all the way there to get the goddamned ice cream and back again just so that nasty sister of his would stop crying. God, how he wished she would choke on it. He was just a step away from pouring poison into it. When he came back with the foo ice cream, he found Itachi sitting on the grass, leaning against a tree with his crybaby of a sister curled next to him like a scared puppy on a rainy day. The brat was still crying. Please let me go, she sobbed. I have to go back to Konoha. At this time, Sadako had given up all hopes that Sasuke would come to save her. If she wanted to get out of this, she'll have to do it herself. But why? Itachi asked, standing up dramatically. I thought you missed me too. I do. Sadako's eyes went wide. If Itachi got angry, it would be the end of it. But, Sasuke is in there, I need to go back to him. Hell with Sasuke. Do you really think he can protect you? He couldn't even lay a hand on me. I know, but, Itachi grabbed her wrists and pulled her up. Come with us, he said, his face shining. Join Akatsuki and come with us. I'm sure our leader will accept you if he knows you possess the Mangenkyo Sharingan. I don't want to. She had stopped crying now. Fear grew inside her. Why not? You're really strong, you cold help us. He tightened his grip on her wrists. Let me go. She tugged at her hands, trying to break free. Don't you? Kaden Gukaku no Jutsu. A giant ball of fire went flying towards Itachi. He grabbed Sadako and jumped away from it. You heard the lady. Naruto grinned mockingly, striking his best hero pose. Let her go, Sasuke demanded. Itachi pushed Sadako behind him. You're not taking her again, he threatened. Cage Bunshin no Jutsu. About then Naruto clones appeared on the scene. You save your sister, I'll take care of the fish face. Go on, I dare you. Kisame smiled, shoving a spoonful of ice cream into his mouth and tossing the cup aside. Naruto ran to Kisame, but he dodged all his attacks easily, and in less time than he could realize it, almost half of his clones had been defeated. Kaden Hausenka. A rain of fireballs went flying to Itachi, who dodged most of them and deflected the others with his bare hands. Kuso, they're too strong, Naruto said after taking a direct hit from Kisame's sword. He wiped blood from his mouth. Sasuke's Sharingan was activated. Even so, he couldn't follow all of Itachi's moves. Aside from being too strong, they were also too fast for just the two of them. Kisame began making hand signs to use a jutsu. Suiden Tsukoden no Jutsu. An incredible amount of water in the shape of a shark broke through the floor and charged directly at them. There was no time to react, no time to think. All they could do was cover their heads and wait for the water shark to devour them. It was really close now, they could feel its jaws closing on them. They heard the sound of water splashing against the floor, but for some reason, they were safe. Both Sasuke and Naruto looked up. They were crouching behind a wall of sand. What the? Sasuke looked up astounded. Blood-red hair and emerald-green eyes. There, standing before them, was Sabaku no Gaara. Arms crossed over his chest, no expression on his pale face. Gaara, Naruto cried out. What are you doing here? Gaara pulled the sand back into the gourd tied on his back. I'm here to save Sadako. I'm here to save Sadako, Gaara said, pulling the sand back into his gourd. Kisame chuckled at his words. He knew well who this red-haired kid was. Sabaku no Gaara, the Ichibi of Suna. He'd heard a lot of rumors of his strength, and that the only person who had ever defeated him was Uzumaki Naruto. Kisame looked down at the blonde boy on the ground. He looked so helpless and weak. If he'd managed to defeat Gaara, it would be more than easy for him. After all, what chance did Gaara's sand had against his water jutsu? Great, he cheered, preparing his sword to strike at them. Yet another roach to squash. Ninpo, Kamaitachi. A strong gust of wind blew the sword out of Kisame's hands. The sword went flying until it was out of sight. Damn, Kisame muttered. He had been caught off guard. He looked up and saw a blonde girl carrying a giant fan. He knew who she was too. Suna no Temari, Gaara's older sister, the wind tamer of Suna. She fixed her hair, which was picked up into 4 ponytails on her head, and leaned against her fan, acting as cocky as she could possibly be. You don't think I would let Gaara come alone, did you? Her cockiness was getting into Kisame's nerves. Behind her stood a boy with purple paintings on his face. He had a hat on the shape of cat ears and was carrying a human-sized puppet, just like the ones Sasori used. He was Gaara's older brother, the puppet master. Itachi turned to face Sadako, who had forgotten about faking and was now staring at Gaara. Sadako, he said softly, holding her left hand. Tell me, do you really want to stay here? Yes, I do, she answered. With a glint of sorrow on his blood-red eyes, Itachi did a series of hand signs. Your chakra is no longer blocked, he told her. I'm sorry, Sad-chan. I wanted to see you and all I did was make you cry. She suddenly felt sorry for lying to him. Listen, I have to leave now. If we stay here, we'll have to fight, and that's the last thing I want. He kissed her forehead. I might not see you again, so I guess this is goodbye. Sadako really felt like crying now, but her pride wouldn't let her. She'd promised not to cry again, no matter what. She couldn't cry, not real tears. Itachi stood up and turned to Kisame, who was about to hit the sand ninja with another water jutsu. Suiden Sui, Kisame, retreat, Itachi ordered, surprising his partner. We can't fight, remember? Yeah, Pain's orders. I know, Kisame said heavily. Both men's figures began to blur and disappear on thin air. Wait, Sasuke yelled, reaching out for Itachi, too blurry form. I'm not done yet. I'm afraid we are, Itachi said in a cold whisper. All 3 Sand siblings sat on the living room couch watching the Teen Titans marathon, when Kankuro finally decided to ask the question that had been bothering him all day. So, you gonna tell us? Kankuro smiled evilly at Gaara. Tell you what? Gaara asked absently, watching as Beast Boy turned from a giant gorilla into a tiny mouse. Why was it so important to save that Uchiha girl? Gaara blinked slowly. Just wanted to help, that's all. And since when are you so humanitarian? Just felt like helping. Gaara shrugged. Damn it, Gaara. Kankuro got frustrated easily. We both know that's not the reason. Calm down, Temari said, placing her hand on Kankuro's shoulder. I'm sure Gaara has a good reason for it. Yeah, right, but I still think it's suspicious. Kankuro thought out loud. I mean, really? The instant he heard Naruto and Sasuke talking about saving Sadako, he ran like hell behind them and forgot all about our mission. Call me crazy, but I think he was worried back then. For all answer, Gaara's cheeks turned slightly pink. Huh, I knew it. Kankuro said in triumph. You like her, don't you? Gaara looked at Temari pleadingly. His sister just shrugged. I'm not really sure. Come on, it's written all over your face. The same dumb look Shikamaru has whenever he sees Temari. Temari whacked him in the head just as Starfire was blasting Cinderblock with her starbolts. Ow, but it's the truth, sis. He complained, rubbing his aching head. There's no way he can deny it. You know, Gaara? Temari began slowly. I heard somewhere that the Uchiha girl likes you too. Really? Gaara asked. Where did you hear that? Well, yesterday I was walking thought Konoha and I accidentally, yeah, right, heard Sakura and Ino talking about a sleepover they'd had. She was forced to stop and stare at Kankuro, who was noisily munching on a handful of peanuts. Sorry, Kankuro apologized. Apparently, they played truth or dare. She continued, and her question was to answer who she liked. It seems she mentioned your name. Gaara thought back at the times he'd talked to Sadako. She had been so nice to him. She'd never stared at him with fear or hatred. And now he knew she liked him too. This was too good to be truth. She likes me too, Gaara thought. That's why she's so nice at me. That's why she doesn't hate me. That's the reason she didn't run away when I asked her what love felt like. And that's why she let me kiss her. Gaara suddenly realized he'd said those last words out loud. He tried to take them back, but it was too late, because when he looked at his siblings, they held huge grins on their faces. No way, you did? Temari asked, actually yelling the words on his face. Who would have thought? Kankuro laughed. Gaara has a girlfriend. For just a brief amount of time, Gaara's siblings seemed to forget they were ever afraid of him. It made Gaara happy to realize it, but he was too ashamed to actually like it. He tried to find an explanation for his actions, but soon realized he had none. I didn't want to do it, it just happened. Well, you can't blame Shukaku for that, can you? Kankuro asked. Gaara shook his head no. That's it, Temari decided. Both Kankuro and Gaara looked at her like she was crazy. Temari? Kankuro began. Tomorrow we'll visit Konoha, and you're going to ask her out. Temari commanded. I won't, Gaara asked simply. What? But why not? She asked disappointed. She would only say no. But you just said she let you kiss her, I'm sure she'll go out with you. It's not that, Sasuke won't let her. He said, remembering how mad Sasuke had gotten when he'd seen them kissing. Hell with Sasuke. Kankuro broke in. She can take her own decisions. Well, I suppose. Now that we all agree, Temari interrupted him. You'll ask her out tomorrow. And just like that, Gaara's sister began to make a plan for the perfect date. Only one problem? Gaara had no idea what she was talking about. So instead of helping, he just sat there watching as Raven saved the world from inevitable doom. Man, Raven was so cool. So the next day, village of Suna, 6:30 a.m. Gaara. Temari shouted at the top of her lungs. Gaara, where are you? Right here, he said annoyed. Where were you? She demanded. There, he pointed to the couch behind her. Right, sorry, I didn't see you. Temari apologized. Hey, keep it down. I'm trying to sleep. Kankuro walked down the stairs, rubbing his sleepy eyes. Get ready you two, Temari ordered. We leave in 30 minutes. Where are we going? Gaara asked. To Konoha, you silly head. She giggled. Today you'll ask Sadako out, remember? I was hoping you would forget, Oni-san. But why do we have to get up so early? Kankuro yawned. Because, she explained, it takes 3 hours to get from Suna to Konoha. It will be 9:30 when we arrive and he still has to ask her out, buy her a nice gift, pick her up about 2 hours later, take her to wherever the hell they're going, walk her back home and then come back to Suna. Kankuro stared at her wide-eyed. Wow, you've really spent some time planning this, sis. He joked. Shut up and get ready, we leave in 20 minutes. Don't listen to her, Kankuro told Gaara as they walked upstairs to get ready. She's just angry because she probably didn't sleep last night. I think she was planning the date she'll like to have with Shikamaru. I heard that, Temari yelled angrily. Village of Konoha, 10 a.m. Damn it, Temari mumbled, looking at her watch. We're 30 minutes late. They would have been in time if only it hadn't taken Kankuro so much time to paint the purple lines on his face and getting his puppets ready. Having a puppeteer as a brother sure had its downsides. Look, Kankuro pointed at something, but he moved his arm so suddenly that it almost hit Gaara on the head. Watch it, Gaara growled. Temari looked on the direction he was pointing to and saw a ramen stand. Come on Kankuro, we can't waste any more time. She scolded. Besides, you've already had breakfast 3 times. No, look, he insisted. So once again, they all looked. Sadako was standing there, outside a grocery store that was next to the ramen stand. Instead of her usual blue sweater, she was wearing a blue shirt that was identical to the one Sasuke always wore. V&A. Sasuke lent it to her, get it? Her right arm, for obvious reasons, was fully bandaged. No one could have guessed it was actually made of ice. New outfit. Temari commented. I wonder what happened to her sweater. Gaara gulped guiltily, remembering it had been him who reduced her right sleeve to shreds. Yesterday, when we saved her, she was wearing a different sweater too. She remembered. I see nothing escapes your eye, sis. Kankuro joked. Not at all. She looked at Gaara. Go on, ask her out. Gaara didn't move. Come on. She pushed him forward. Okay. He walked 3 steps, then stopped and looked at Temari. Where should I ask her out to? I don't know. She scratched her head. Ice cream stand? Okay. Once again, he walked towards Sadako. As he walked closer to her, he began to panic. Wait, panic? This had to be a joke. Him, Sabaku no Gaara. The legend of Suna, panicking? This couldn't be real. His heart stopped beating when he finally reached her. Her back was turned at him, so she hadn't seen him yet. Gaara couldn't help but thinking that she looked really cute, even if she was wearing a boy's shirt. Saw Sadako. He stuttered, feeling his legs begin to shake. This really had to be a joke. She turned around to face him. Gaara-sama? She stuttered, turning bright red. Obviously, she hadn't forgotten the last time they'd talked. He tried not to remember, but the memory instantly played before his eyes like a DVD scene. He could almost feel Sadako's lips against his. Could almost taste her kiss. It tasted like, come on boy, focus. He scolded himself. I was wondering? At that same moment, Sasuke walked outside the grocery store carrying a bag of peaches. Hey, Oni-san, are these enough for the peach pie or should I buy some more? He stared at Sadako's red face. What's wrong? He turned his head and frowned deeply at the sight of Gaara. Yes, can I help you? He asked dryly. He was just, Etta. She looked at Gaara questioningly. I just wanted to know, he gathered all his courage. If you would like to go out with me today. The Uchiha twins stared at him wide-eyed. We'll just go to the ice cream stand, that's all. He added, noticing Sasuke's nasty expression. Well? Sadako looked at her brother hopefully. Sasuke looked away. She knew that meant, no. I'm sore. She'll be there. Sasuke answered. There was nothing he hated more than the idea of Sadako going out with Gaara. But he'd promised not to interfere with her decisions. Really? She asked. I mean, yes, I'll be there. Fine, I'll pick you up at. Temari had said to pick her up 2 hours later. Is 12 p.m. okay? Sadako looked at Sasuke. Sasuke just shrugged. Yes, it's okay. She guessed. Okay, then, I'll be there. He said, then began to walk away. What'd she say? Temari asked. She said yes. Gaara said blankly. Damn, don't look so exited little bro. Kankuro said sarcastically. Now, let's go find her a nice gift. Temari continued. But, I don't think it's her birthday today. Gaara said. Oh, poor Gaara. She grieved, shaking her head slowly. You'll understand someday. Outside the Yamanaka flower shop, 11:15 a.m. What are we doing here? Gaara asked, looking at the curly letters on the flower shop sign. Flowers are a nice gift, she said, walking inside the shop. Come on in. All 3 of them walked inside. Irashaimasu, Ino greeted from behind the counter. Oh, Temari-chan, are you looking for Shikamaru? Kankuro looked at Temari with that, "I knew it," expression she hated so much. "Ah, no, no," she blushed. "I just want to buy some flowers." "Flowers for Shikamaru?" Ino asked confused. "I don't think he likes them that much." Kankuro burst in laughter. "They're not for Shikamaru, damn it." She spat. "Why does everyone always think we're dating?" "So you're not dating?" Ino asked, tilting her head. "Ah." Temari shook her head violently. "Gaara, just pick a flower and let's get out of here." She looked at her watch. 11:23 a.m. It was already getting late. "Hurry up." Gaara stared at her. She had just yelled at him. And just for some dumb flowers he had absolutely no idea of why they were so important. "Kill her," he heard Shukaku's voice inside his head. "She can't treat us like this, she should be afraid." And for about 3 seconds, he was tempted to obey, until he laid his eyes on a bucket near the window. "Those." He pointed at the bucket of flowers he liked. "Sunflowers?" Temari looked at the huge yellow flowers. "No, the ones next to them." Temari looked at them. They were white roses and the tip of each petal was decorated with a tiny sky blue stripe. "Those are cute," she agreed. Temari grabbed a single white rose and placed it on the counter. "I'll take this one," she told Ino. "Only one?" Kankuro asked. "We came all the way here for just one flower? Why not a dozen?" "Because only boyfriends give their girlfriends more than one flower," she explained. "Not necessarily," Ino said. "I think." She stopped on mid-sentence because Temari was giving her a death glare. Gaara knew his sister hated being corrected more than anything. Even more than being related to Shikamaru. Temari was always right, even when she was wrong. "So, who is it for?" Ino asked mischievously. "Mind your own business," Gaara said coldly. He set some money on the counter as payment for the rose, then walked out of the shop without a word. Outside the Uchiha compound, 12 p.m. Gaara took a deep breath before daring to knock on the door. He tried to remember everything Temari had warned him to do. The white rose was on his hand and he knew exactly where they were going. The ice cream stand. According to Temari's carefully laid plans, nothing could possibly go wrong, yeah right. Knock, knock. There, he'd done it. He'd finally knocked on the door. Footsteps were heard behind the door, then it creaked slowly open. And guess who was there? Yup, you guessed it. Sasuke. He had a sour look on his face, his mouth formed a nasty sneer. It seemed nothing would make him happier than using his Chidori against Gaara. That wasn't so far from what Sasuke really wanted to do. Sasuke stared at the red-haired boy before him. As he did this, he couldn't help but to wonder why his sister liked him so much. "Sadako isn't ready yet," he told Gaara, hoping he would suddenly get stroked by lightning, or at least get bitten by a rabid dog. "She'll be here in a minute." "Okay," Gaara replied simply, hiding the rose behind his back. Sasuke's eye twitched. How could he act so indifferent about it? It was his beloved sister he was dating. He should be grateful Sadako had even considered going out with him. "Listen," he said threateningly. "Don't you?" He was about to warn Gaara about trying to kiss his sister again, when he heard Sadako walking down the stairs. It was impressive how his expression turned from vicious prey dog to nice and caring brother as soon as he saw his sister had arrived. "Hey," she smiled sweetly at Gaara, making Sasuke angrier than he already was. Gaara bowed his head politely in response. "I'll be going now, Oni-san," she said. Sadako kissed Sasuke's forehead, then walked out of the house and closed the door behind her. "Here," Gaara handed Sadako the white rose. "This is for you." "Oh, thank you." She took the flower from Gaara, her eyes sparkling happily. So that's what the rose was for, it was to make her happy. Now it all made sense to Gaara. He was not sure what to say. An awkward silence fell between them. "I like your hair," was the only thing he could think of. Not just because he'd thought of nothing else, but because he really did like her hair. Sadako's hair was always loose and fell on her shoulders, but today it was picked up in a ponytail. Locks of black-blue hair fell softly from her forehead and at each side of her face. Her clothes were different too. Instead of her blue sweater and long pants, she was wearing a blue long-sleeved blouse with the Uchiha symbol painted on the back and a black miniskirt, blue tights and black leg warmers. She was still wearing her black gloves and weird shoes, but there was no doubt that she looked really cute. Cute was the only word Gaara could think of to describe her. She was also pretty, but cute would define her better. "Thank you," she said, pushing locks of hair away from her eyes. I had no time to dry it, so I just combed it up into a ponytail. A sweat drop appeared on Gaara's forehead. Should we go now? He suggested. Sure. As for their date, it wasn't so different from normal dates. As any boy does, he bought 2 huge bowls of ice cream. Vanilla flavored for him and chocolate chip flavored for her. As any average boy, he was kind enough to bring her spoons and napkins, even though he had to go back because he forgot to bring some for himself. And as any boy does, he tried to make a good impression but ended up spilling his entire ice cream bowl over Sadako's skirt and part of her blouse. Good thing that, as any girl does, she just said, "It's okay," while Gaara apologized again and again. "Do you want to go now?" he asked, watching as Sadako tried to wipe the ice cream from her clothes using napkins. "Yes, I think so." She giggled. It only made Gaara feel worse. "I'll just go to the bathroom to clean off and we can leave." As soon as she was out of sight, Gaara heard Temari's voice calling him from the door. "What?" he asked, stepping out of the ice cream stand. "What just happened in there, Gaara?" She nagged. "You were supposed to make a good impression and end up looking like a fool." "It's not my fault," he said defensively. "It's not my fault they set the bowl right where one was going to put my hand. I did not saw it." "Whatever. Here." She handed him a box. "What's this?" he asked. "It's another gift. You don't think she'll be happy after you spilled the bowl on her clothes?" she said, tapping the box with her index finger. "Give this to her, and let's hope she likes it." "But, what is inside the box?" "Here she comes, got to go." She ran and disappeared. Sadako walked out. There was a big white stain on her clothes that could not be cleaned out. "I'm really sorry for that." He blushed. "I said it was okay." She looked curiously at the box. "Oh, this is for you." He handed her the box. "What's inside?" she asked. "It's, well, a surprise." He had absolutely no idea what could be in the box. Sadako opened it and gasped, then a cute little smile formed on her lips. "Ah, it's so cute." She pulled a little black kitten out of the box. "Thank you, Gaara-sama. You like it?" He looked at the cat. It was just a normal cat, nothing was special about it. "How did you know I love cats?" she asked, holding the kitten on front of her face. Lucky guess. He was secretly thanking Temari for it. "Look," she pointed at its chest. There was a patch of white hair in the shape of a heart. "It's got a huge heart. I'm glad you like it. I'll name him." She looked closely at the cat. "Kuromaru, because of his black fur. I like that name." He smiled at her, a real smile. What was it about her that always made him smile? Gaara walked Sadako back home as Temari had instructed. People stared at her clothes stained with vanilla ice cream, but she didn't seem to care. She was too busy talking to Gaara that she didn't even notice some of them were even laughing. When they reached Sadako's house, he looked at her and sighed. It had been so nice to be with her, but now she had to go. "So, I guess I should be going," he said slowly. "Yes," she said on a low voice. "Will you come back again?" "Of course, I mean, if you want to." Sadako smiled and nodded. "I'll leave now, then." He turned around and was about to walk away when he felt her hand on his arm. "Wait." He turned to face her and noticed she had turned bright red. "I'm sorry," she said, blushing even more. "Sorry?" He looked at her confused. "Sorry for what?" "For this." She leaned forward and pressed her lips against his. Gaara's eyes went wide. He wasn't expecting her to do this, but he was clearly not going to push her away. All he could do was close his eyes and kiss her back. She pulled away from him, her eyes avoiding his. "I'm sorry. Don't be," he said, lifting her face and kissing her again. Once again there was that feeling of soaring. Soaring above painful pasts and never healing wounds. It all seemed so far behind. There was the feeling that his heart would burst of happiness, but it didn't matter. And, yes, there it was too. The taste he'd felt so faintly before, was now so strong there was no doubt about it. The taste of sweet cinnamon. The taste of her kiss. Gaara sat on the living room watching The Lord of the Rings, when he heard someone knocking on the door. Temari and Kankuro were out on a mission, so he knew he had to get the door himself. He opened the door, a mailman stood there with something on his hand. "There's a letter for you, Gaara-sama." He handed Gaara an envelope. Gaara tipped the man, then sat back on the couch and opened the envelope. Inside it, was a card shaped on the form of a red cloud. "Akatsuki," he mumbled. He flipped the card over and read what was written on it. "Sabaku no Gaara. It has reached my ears the word that you're dating my sister. I will not interfere in that. I'm sure she can take her own decisions. I just warn you, if you ever hurt her, I'll make you pay for it. Only one thing I want to ask from you. Take good care of her. Take good care of my sister. Gaara read it and smiled, because after that last sentence, written in big bold letter, were two words, final words.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.